Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 40 of the Shonen Ronin show, where we be covering MHA, JJK, Black Clover, because it's going to be a hiatus, so we definitely had to talk about it before it went away, and, you know, a lot of things happened, a lot of discussion, a lot of overhype, a lot of eyes and twists, who knows, we're going to have a lot of discussion to say. And One Piece chapter 1047, Unluck, and maybe Ayashimon chapter, I'm about to say episode, chapter 21. So a lot of things gonna be discussed, and no, we're not all rich out here except for Ray Apollo, because you know he is, you know, he's rarefied. You know, once you verify, you know, those are the rich people out there. So yeah, so you know, Ray. Yes, so definitely Ray on that. But let's see our beautiful panelists on the show today, because we have a little nice crew here. So let's see our beautiful faces of the crew here. Ray Apollo joined the show. He is here. First time in 2021, I believe. I mean, well, 2021. I'm still on last year. 2022.
I jumped on here for a hot minute once, like a few months ago.
All right, so perhaps some business on my brain. And as always, there's been like a consistent guest. Aniki, how you doing, my man, on this happy Sunday?
Might as well just say part of the team, bro. Part of the shit, part of the crew.
Hey, I did ask him in the chat, but he never replied back on that. So
I'm a horrible texter. So look, I'm gonna be real with you. Anytime I don't message you back, just assume that I read it and then went, all right, I gotta make sure I say something to that. And then just my brain went, so yeah, you said something.
Trust me, I feel you on that. My first 6 months I spoke to my girl did not respond to 12 hours or 24 hours later. And then again 12 hours later after I replied back. So trust me, I get horrible texts. I get that. And the first time here, Watkins, how are you doing, my man?
Oh, I'm doing great. How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great, awesome Sunday. We had a fantastic week of Jump, and I just read 21 chapters of Ayashimon, so let's go with all that.
That's a nice binge.
Go, Watkins.
You met the hands out here then. Shit, all right. So I should have said the champ is here instead then, because he literally pushed through. All right. And our boy, the caller for this weekend, our caller that came in, Kirk
All from the spirit realm.
So Kirk, he said, you know what? I don't know why I didn't do this in the first place. Since he's not here, I should just hide him since he's on the road. Much better.
I mean, as long as they can still hear him,
Yeah,
hide behind me so I can really be like a caller.
Yeah. That's what I literally did on the road. So, like, it literally us four.
He's in the spirit realm, yeah.
So, our boy just stuck in the shadow realm. So, for the break that we have here for today, since Ray has not read Unluck and
yeah, I ain't read either one of those. Nope.
All right, so
Come on, Ray, you slipping.
So,
yeah, bro, slipping right into this money. See, this man went from
the rich card or something. Somebody with this.
Look at that. Look at that.
I'm just saying, what do you mean?
Just
Vash owed me $1 too. What you talking about? He owed me $1 too. I was chilling here waiting. So I was in chat the whole time. I expect my dollar promptly.
You said to chat, not to the panelists. You said to
I was in chat. I was in chat. Look at my name. You see it in there. Ray Apollo said, wow.
Word?
He got it, chat. Drop the cash apps. LMAO. Give me my money.
Word? I don't see that chat. I don't see that comment.
Well, I mean, everybody else saw it. I got witnesses, so it's fine.
But
it was in chat. See, no denying
The fact that I can still see it.
Damn,
I'll try to.
Congratulations. You played yourself. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm so mad. I don't have a stream deck up because I had that clip of Play Yourself, but you know what? It will be there for next week. But for the rundown for right now, it's going to be My Hero first, Black Clover, JJK, and then from there, our boy is going to step out. And then the last two is Unluck, Ayashimon, and One Piece. So that is our breakdown for today. And also, I want to give a quick shout out to appreciate for all the viewers and listeners that check out Shonen Ronin episode 39 from last week. You gave that view right now 2.6 in a week. So I appreciate that for all that listen. Check it out. And then you came back and still not subscribed, go check that out. Comment as well. Like the video. And with all the YouTube stuff out of the way, let's get straight into MHA. And Ray, we're going to knock it out to you first, since it's been a while. So give us your feel. Give us your money and thoughts.
You're supposed to be giving us money. Don't think I can't hear. Unlike you, I hear and remember things. So, no, this chapter was something we have been waiting on. It's been years since I've been waiting. Well, since we met Dabi initially, I'm like, well, yeah, him and Shoto gonna fight, and I've been waiting on it forever. And now we finally getting the actual fight. And man, Horikoshi did not skimp on this chapter at all. The art in this has been so good. Okay, we've talked about this before about how he draws everybody who deals with flames differently. Dabi's flames have intensified, and you can see it in the art, and it's nuts. I love it. There's one page, well, actually a few pages, where you can see where his heat is so hot that when he steps, it's melting the ground. It's splashing up around his feet. That's very warm. For those of you who might not know how temperatures work, that's real hot. If he can take a solid and turn it into a liquid, it's ridiculous. But just the conversation that Toya's having with Shoto, I'm like, wow, you really do just have nothing but hate in your heart. That's all you got. It ain't nothing else. It's just hate. I'm like, oh man, I feel bad for you because like this is all you cared about. You ain't cared about nothing else. You ain't cared about getting back at your dad and your baby brother who your dad liked more than you for your entire life. Like, wow, that's messed up. But it's really nice to see Shoto like trying to still stand and hold his ground. But he's got other folks supporting him, which if he didn't, it would have been a wrap. But still, it's fine. I don't know. I love this chapter because it's the brothers finally getting to have words. In a way that, and Shoto is like we see the growth. We talk about this, characters growing, my hero. We see the growth. He's like, yeah, you know what? Thanks for telling me that you were thinking about me because you know what? I was also knowing that I needed to do some work on myself, and I'm glad you noticed. So it's just good to see Shoto actually finally get a moment. I'll be honest. Outside of the movies, Shoto don't really get moments no more. So this was nice to see.
Yeah, and it's a shame because it's a balance of what the sagas were after. Because the first one is like the UA beginnings, and then we go into the rise of the villain saga, and it's like Hori's like, yep, time to expand upon these villains, build a compelling story around my villains, have y'all paying attention to who they are, what they want, blah 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 blah, and then you get like NBA where there's 20 chapters straight of like no Shoto, no Boku, no like well, all right, cool. So yeah, like we have chunks of the story where Shoto is just kind of sitting there like, yeah, I'm gonna get in. And one of the things that I kind of talked about was
get a game, coach.
Yeah, no, it's like a double dutch.
Yeah, literally. That's
like, hey, let's switch. Let's go.
One brother dead. Oh my head. Anyway, but
straight to jail.
But like. Basically, he's kind of been having to take a bit of a backseat. One of the things we talked about is how Endeavor in a lot of conversations kind of sucks up the space for Toya and Shoto. So removing Endeavor from that is almost like Horikoshi. And like I saw somebody mention how like the criticisms that Dabi are like throwing at Shoto are things people have kind of said about him too online. And it's like you kind of have that, like him acknowledging like Endeavor has taken up all this space between these two brothers and he's the reason they're apart. So it only makes sense that when he's gone, they finally can come together, which kind of to me is like also letting us know that Endeavor is not finishing this series a family man, even if he finishes the series alive. I just don't see it anymore.
I mean, they surely about to have, they really not about to have a family dynamic. There's no happy ending for this. I'll be very honest. There just isn't. There's not. And we saved our brother and now we're eating noodles together. No.
Which I don't understand why people always wanted or thought there would be a happy ending for this family. Like, Hori made it very realistic.
It's a shonen staple, It's like, yes, the power of family, the power of friendship. We'll be fine. Nah, not here.
But that's what I love about it because it gave such a realistic knowing about family abuse, knowing about the family dynamics, and knowing that you, as a failure, as a father, knowing that you have made these mistakes, but you like most people will be like, oh, you can't come back from that and everything. But knowing that Hori has done improvements as a human being, that those are possible where you get those of a second chances. So to see that being done, Hori is doing a marvelous job on that, and I'm loving it. But before I continue, I want to hear Watkins' thoughts. What have you been thinking about this chapter and overall?
Ooh, this chapter. I love Horikoshi when he's on his action game right now. Cause God, I'm just looking right here at page like 10 and 11. Because I usually read them like with both pages up. And you can see when Dabi hits him with the what was it? The jet burn. The angle that Shoto's at is kind of the same angle like on the next page where you see him get blasted into the building. It's stuff like that that I just love Horikoshi for. Like he knows about the page turn and about panel work so well that it works to his betterment of the chapter and the story that he's telling. And honestly, it's just so great to see Shoto doing something big in the main series again. Like, especially near this end part with this flash fire fist, phosphor. Like, this just looks awesome. Like, he has this kind of the chest thing that Endeavor has, but it's his own kind of thing. Because I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, he's using both hot and cold here. I think to like kind of cool himself off in order to like try to match Dabi.
Yeah, so caller here.
I was
agree.
about to ask you, caller, what's your thoughts here?
Caller here. No, I agree. I think that it's some type of I think more in the lines of like a combustion reactor.
Mm-hmm.
So like the elements are colliding and exploding essentially because you're going from these two extremes. Like he said, he found this in his quest to even try and use the move. Understanding that, like, because he makes a point. Shoto makes a point to be like, hey, he
Ray,
can generate heat.
Oh no, I was saying, yeah, he basically built this move to keep up with his teammates, which had far surpassed him. Which I'm like thinking about that. He's working to keep up with them. Yeah, he surpassed Dabi, trying to keep up with them. So I'm like, that makes it like that to me. That connects me. It's like, oh no, he really is working at a different level because he's trying to keep up with Deku and Bakugo, which are all the way at like a completely different level from Dabi.
And there's so much tie back to all of that.
I would give Bakugo over Dabi any day. I'm just gonna say it.
There's so much tie back to that because there's even the question of, hey, you look up to All Might, right? You know what I'm saying? And you get another one of the panel shots of the melting All Might statue. And then on top of that, it's again, like I said, Shoto's realization, like, oh, you can generate heat at a faster level than I can. And so in that same token, as him acknowledging that, he's prepping his version of the attack. So it's a full circle. We really, like you guys said, we haven't seen Todoroki since the festival. We've literally he's not had a moment since season 2 of the anime.
Well, he would not exactly because like we have
no.
But like a hype moment, right?
He outside, like Ray said, outside of the movies where he is truly the shine of things. It's been subverted for a long time because it's been focused on Deku and Bakugo's relationship.
So
same thing with Ila. Like he had to get suppressed because Bakugo was more relevant to Deku's development.
But
I forgot Ida was there for a minute.
The main thing what I wanted to kind of point out though is that like that's a little inaccurate because like even if you look at the panels that we see here, because you got to think like we did have the stuff with ending during Endeavor Agency, where he was the one who finished the job there. We did have, the actual conversation about him preparing for forgiveness and all that other stuff. But we didn't have a hype action moment for him there necessarily because ending isn't important of a villain.
He felt like a tool though, more so than him having a moment. It's like his powers were having a moment. Does that make sense? Like it was the fact that he was the person that had to do certain things in certain moments, more so than Todoroki Shoto is having a moment.
So the main reason why I can't agree with that is because of like if you look at the ending scenario, we could have made it where all three of like you could rotate which of the three did it. the point was that all three of them were supposed to be like surpassing what Endeavor set out there. So that was supposed to be part of his moment. But what I wanted to address though is that like you also had that introspection and that establishment during joint training, and we had the stuff where he was progressing through the hero killer arc. So we have, the problem isn't that Shoto doesn't get moments or hasn't, it's that most of his moments aren't about his action, they're about his psyche. Because like even provisional license is an area where we focus in on how he's thinking and how he's approaching and interacting with people, because he has to think about the fact that he's lashing out at others because of his anger at his dad, which was comes full circle when you get to the end of the Rise of the Villain Saga. I think we opened Rise of the Villain Saga with Shoto being called out by somebody and that he lashed out at because he was mad at his dad. And then we close out the Rise of the Villain Saga with Dabi showing up, lashing out at everybody because he's mad at his dad, showing us where Shoto was going. So I don't want to say that he hasn't had moments since Sports Festival.
I guess for me, I guess that's why I have that stance. And it's not because I disagree, it's because I agree. I feel like what made this chapter as impactful is the setup of moments that led to this. But even you mentioned like the provisional license, like he was a part of what that was. But again, I felt like, and this is just me, and it might be my blinders on with this, I felt like he was less relevant than Bakugo, and how that played into the dynamics of what we ended up getting as the fight with Deku and Bakugo eventually afterwards.
So
like I feel like a lot of different things where it's like he's there, he's present. Like there's a picture, right? He's not in the background, he's in the picture, but you're focusing on the other people that are in the picture and not him.
You know what I want to say about that though is, well, yeah, I can see in a way where you're like, oh well, it doesn't really like, you know, he hasn't really shown forward.
Yeah,
that's also his personality. If you really think about it,
that's just
yeah. Shoto. Shoto was very laid back, like trying to figure his shit out as he goes along. You know what I'm saying?
He's not somebody that wants to be. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that's actually my final point. Is that I said all of that to say that the thing I love the most about this chapter was that I feel like as an author, as a mangaka, as a creative, it would have been easy to give into the emotional buildup and different stuff. But no, everything about the way that he responds and interacts and even his movements is so Shoto. Even the rage, like the rage is still there. Like people forget that like Shoto has rage. He genuinely has a temperament to him. It's not.
We've only ever seen his temper twice, and it's when he fought Deku and now.
We know, I'm about to say, but that's the tie back. That's the tie back again. Like it's all of these moments, literally from then to now. You're right, Aniki. There's been these moments of build up of showing us his psyche, which gives into the payoff. But ultimately, he has grown but stayed true to who he is as a character, and I think that's a strong testament to Horikoshi being able to write. I feel like I would have been pressured not to write that way while I was writing when he was writing.
Oh, definitely. Like people, because the push and the thing that I've always liked about the Todoroki family drama is that it is one of the most honest takes on familial issues and strife that I've found in shonen.
And it's consistent. That's what it is. It's consistent.
Because with this family, like the trope would normally be you kill the dad, you do something like that. And it's funny because I like see people pretend like Hori is that writer. They'll be like, oh, Horikoshi's just gonna do this. And it's like, you're only saying this because you've read it in other stuff and you're used to family drama just being resolved with, well, we all forgive him.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. And I'm like, there's no guarantee that that's going to be how that
I
works.
never got to say I love you, Dad, because he dead now. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it's like,
and
no.
Insert power up.
Or Pro Hero arc would have had Endeavor be like, I need to change. And then when we got, and then he would have been like, yeah, I forgive my dad now because Pro Hero arc happened.
Yeah, because we didn't get Endeavor Pro House Husband / Dad arc.
Option C, Endeavor Vegeta kamikazes himself as a testament to show to the world that he cares about people.
Mm-hmm. Which is what if you think about it, that's what Hori technically did with the high-end Nomu, but it was him basically burning up his past self and to like give birth to this new Endeavor.
And if you
essentially.
remember, what he says
Exactly.
specifically is, "You are me, my past or a twisted future, so burn away." And this is also why I've always felt like Endeavor dying is the perfect finish for his character, because even if he's supposed to be trying to redeem himself to be a better person, all this other stuff, it very clear, like the story is constantly pointing in this direction that things will be better once he's absent. And because you gotta think, like, how do we solve like part of his family stuff, like neglecting people? When neglect, it's kind of like neglect caused all these things, but now his absence is what's needed, because you spent so much time being away from people and being this source of hostility, that now that when you're around them, they just rather have the old thing. Like Natsuo
So-
would rather not be around Endeavor. Think about that. Natsuo was mad at Endeavor for ignoring him, but never wants to be around him anymore.
I mean, and if you really think about it, so where Endeavor is now, remember how he was so caught up in being number one for so long. So guess what he put first? Himself, all the time. All the time. Now he's to the point where he's like, I don't have to be present for things to happen. I can't force my presence on others because it makes it worse. And he learned that here. He's like, I don't need to be there. If I'm there, it only makes it worse. You can do this, Shoto, is what he basically tells him to. He's like, I hate that I'm giving this responsibility to you. That's something I should take care of. But Shoto's like, no, I want to do this.
Exactly.
And that's what, like, that makes it really, like, it means something there. Because Shoto's like, this is also my brother. I feel like I also have some responsibility here. Even though he was just a kid from the same broken household. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I want to help my family too.
And what's dope as well is knowing that our boy Endeavor's psychics also is supporting our boy Shoto. That they give him the reins to follow his lead and then what to do against Dabi, slash Toya.
Oh, they've been acknowledged him. That was like a something that was already established previously. That they already kind of had acknowledged where he had come to this point. And I think also to even add back to like what Ray was just saying, you kind of see again, you got to kind of explore some of the personality changes of Endeavor in watching Deku also go through his little emo mode. And it's not a highlight, but it's something that's like an undertone as well in that part.
So
He did.
are we in the same thought that by the end of this arc with Dabi, he's actually gonna die with all this fire and there's all that his skin falling off, spreading and everything? Or do you think some way, somehow, the crew of Shoto and them is gonna try to save him and be in prison and everything?
I am personally
There's a chance.
a Death fan though. Specifically because I think that the death of, because I think that Twice's death is still a Chekhov's gun for Shigaraki. I could see the death of Dabi plus Twice plus some of these other League of Villains members being the final nail in the coffin to make sure that Tomura and not Vestige for one is involved. And that's going to be the thing that like cements Shigaraki's identity after having lost everything that he cared about. Now he's lost every reason to not just simply destroy everything. Because if you remember back during NBA, when he's talking about just, I'll destroy everything, the only reason he thinks of making an exception is because Toga herself was like, wait, you want to destroy the stuff I want? He was like, wait, I will not destroy the things of my allies. But if his allies are gone and all he's got left is Vestige for one, forcing him into the identity of Melvin, then why not? Like, why not go on that warpath? Why not completely surrender it all and just be that villain? You know what I mean?
I mean,
I like that thought process, but I think there's a point where you have story plots to wrap up, and there's a point where there is a message of the entire story that's trying to be conveyed. And I have been of the mindset since we've got into this final portion here that the thing that would, this is just me personally, I think that would best serve the story is the salvation, air quotes, the heroing, the rescuing of Toga, Dabi, and Shigaraki. In some fashion, way, or form. there has to be, even if they don't live, there has to be some genuine attempt in my eyes to rescue them, air quotes, as heroes.
And there will be. Like, I mean, Shoto's going to try to save Dabi. It's just, he's going to try kind of, I don't want to say fail, because he can't really stop Dabi's body from destroying itself.
What you mean? He could freeze him, and then we have Eri. What are you talking about?
Hold up.
Stop it right now.
First off, we don't use Eri that way.
No, we don't. Yes, stop it.
Second off, based on all the rules we understand about her power, she will not be able to save Dabi because she'd have to be able to physically rewind him like 15 years.
She's only helped one person, and it's Mirio, and that's fine.
And that's also her whole stockpile. You saw she went from...
And plus,
you saw the size of her horn.
He has all different body parts of skin and organs that he got infused.
He's a Frankenstein.
So he doesn't have the same body he had a good 15 years ago. So that's that's impossible.
So I'm curious about
quick,
one thing though. Go ahead, because then there's this one panel that I want to bring up.
Saving someone emotionally does not mean they live physically.
Well, that's what I said. I think I was very intentional about the word attempt to rescue.
Yeah.
I don't think Dabi comes out of this alive, but for the sake of what needs to be pushed, I think your ending that you suggested is true. But I think especially with Dabi and Toga, there has to be an effort that is made. There has to be some dialogue along the lines of trying to be a hero to the villains. Because that's a theme that has been brought up and has not been flushed out.
I mean, I hope we're getting to the point that we're like, I really hope that people who are reading this are starting to get to the point that it's not just heroes and villains, it's people. Like, this is literally what we're breaking it down to. It's people.
And that's exactly my point. That's why I'm being cautious about using the words for clarity of the listeners. But that's my point, Ray, is that the point here is that everyone is a person, is a human, and everyone deserves to be treated as such. And as such, if you're a hero and your job is to protect, preserve, etc., of life of the people, these are people too that you are facing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and here, this fight isn't between a hero and a villain. This is between two brothers.
Yes,
that's what this is. That's what this fight is. But in terms of potentially what's happening with what Shoto's gonna do, so if you look at page 11, there is a panel where Dabi realizes that his heat has been neutralized. Period. It's not just he neutralized the heat from the attack. The heat from his arm has been neutralized. So I'm like, what did Shoto do there? Did he steal his heat, or has he figured out a way to rapidly cool that matches a way that he rapidly can heat himself up? Because if he can literally extinguish his flames, it's a wrap. He can't beat him.
my guess is what the doctor said in the previous chapter, I think 350 or 349, when he said about the energy of heat. So I assume that maybe probably Shoto took the heat energy and transferred to him, like some type of heat like that.
This is what I'm worried. That's why I'm curious about why he centered all the energy on his chest.
Yeah,
is it a centrifuge? Is he absorbing some heat? Because he calls his Flash Fire Fist phosphor, phos, light. He is generating more light than what Dabi can. So it's brighter. But I'm like, is it because he's absorbing the energy from the heat to make it brighter, which is also a way to make it more damaging?
One of the things that I kind of talked about was like you mentioned, phosphor is dealing with light, and it's one of the things that helps us make light bulbs and all this other stuff. Yeah. But two, the technique specifically that Shoto is using seems to be a reference to Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Did anybody read or watch Reborn?
No, I haven't.
Nope.
So Ray, you said yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I recall exactly what you're talking about.
The fight against Zanzis.
Yes.
With the ice.
Man. Yes. Okay.
Also, Ayashimon. I know Ray ain't reading it, but
no spoilers. Shut up.
No. I'm just saying. Ayashimon. There's a reference there. No bashing. I'm sorry.
So yeah, like I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like he's able to negate heat and like remove it, which he's not completely able to, obviously, because he still got sent flying.
True, he because I mean there's still force behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's still hitting him with something. So it's like he can just go fly. That boy got sent.
Yo, but it's crazy.
Soaring.
But it's crazy that building window. Like you already knocked out 8 floors of all windows in that building. Like that's extreme heat that you just aim flying.
Look at the Horikoshi. So it's art because look at the way, look at the impact. It's more of a melted impact because it's so hot.
You notice the melting of the impact, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
There's still this heat reference that's constantly present in regards to the impact.
And I also think that's still because I also shout out to Shoto because I think Shoto did that. It would have been worse had he not neutralized most of that attack.
Fact.
That's true.
And that spider webbing, that is like that heat immediately melting and creating that like break point. And then you see that automatic. So it's
exactly. It's steam. And it's like, oh damn, Shoto, you really did get good. Like, look at you. Look at my boy go. I love it. It's so good. But I mean, there's one thing that I really like. My last thing I'm gonna say about it, so the rest of y'all can talk, is Shoto, the very last panel says, just aim all your rage at us because we as your family take responsibility for you and what you are.
Yes.
Shivers, bro. Shivers.
I love that.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yo, but my favorite panel of Shoto throughout all these 351 chapters is that page 14, Flash Fire Fist. And like just his face of like how he's just ready to fight against his brother, and knowing that he's finally taking it serious for once. Because remember that fight against Deku, he said that he has never actually gone serious using both quirks, fire and ice. To see him actually like mad, his hair and everything, like you can see the body language, like you spoke about. His personality trait has always been a laid-back person because he knows that he has two powerful quirks, fire and ice, and the way you combine it. But he's always been a lazy person because he has never taken anything too serious. But to actually see his personality in body language, actually his hands all out and extended, ready to fight against his brother, it shows that like I can't wait to see what else he does, and cannot wait to see this animated in season 6 or 7 in the future. But this is going to look amazing.
What I wanna throw in there real quick, and this is my last point as well, is gonna be so if you guys go ahead and do yourself a favor and Google search phosphorus. And I'm gonna point out what it basically, the general point of what I'm gonna point out here is that phosphorus itself as an element takes its form in two ways, and that is white phosphorus and red phosphorus. And I'm gonna just leave it at that.
True.
White phosphorus is the war crime, just so you know. So we ain't doing that.
No. But again, remember his character design, his hair design, the premise of exactly what this is, the combination and the combining of everything that is him to this point, not just physically and his powers, because much like you and I always talk about, Ray, like y'all keep thinking that this power thing is just like is just power, like it's not deeply connected to the psyche of each of these characters.
Thank you.
Okay, what I want to say is that to really back you up is that, does anybody here remember the original word that was used for quirks instead? Because quirks is not what the actual word in Japanese means.
I believe
hit us with it.
I believe it was meta or something like that.
Individuality.
No, it was yeah.
Yes. Individuality. I don't recall it.
So everyone's power is their individuality. That's what makes, so like when he's talking to Deku, what he says to him is like, you can't be a hero without individuality. See, like that specifically,
that sounds more layered. Different. It sounds more layered, like what he's saying.
And what do we know
is more
Deku's
hurtful if you ask me.
That's
it. You know, is Deku's biggest issue as a hero? What's his biggest issue with managing his power?
Individuality himself. He does not focus on himself. Deku doesn't take himself into consideration because he lacks in individuality. His lack of individuality leads to him focusing on everyone else. And this is compounded with being in Japan, which has this thing called sekente, which is like this whole principle of you being like the least important person in the room, and you gotta like put everybody else first. So you're being culturally conditioned to put everyone else first. Then you layer on like like superheroes are a thing, so you have an actual role model that's tangible to embody these ideals, and then you don't have and superpower, which is referred to as an individuality within the scope of your society, which means you are literally being told you are not a person or valuable on three different psychological layers.
Which put that into context, right? Hold that, and then think about the scene with Deku and Deku's mom when she's watching All Might on TV, and she's like, basically like, I failed you.
Mm-hmm. She was basically like, nope, I failed you. You don't have a power. My DNA failed you.
Well, that and like you can't actually be somebody of value to society.
Yeah, like,
right.
Oof.
I haven't groomed you to be able to function. I have not raised you to have your own sense of self enough to be able to contribute to society in any type of positive way. That crazy.
Hurts my feelings.
Hey, somebody play the emotional damage.
But Watkins, what's your last thoughts, or have any thoughts that we haven't mentioned about the chapter overall?
Not really. We kind of hit most of the things that I noticed. I like how his hell spider's bigger. I like how
yeah, it is.
Yeah, poor Daddy Endeavor, but
poor Daddy Endeavor.
He's done enough. All right.
Yeah, I think we covered most.
But
I mean, overall, I love this chapter. Like,
same.
legitimately, I love this chapter. Like, solid. Good job, Horikoshi.
And plus, for me, my last thoughts is that I love how Shoto, I think it was in page 12 or 11, when he brought up that he has learned how to use this move to stop you with his fire. And I love how Hori shows the type of 3 flashbacks of all the time he has used that same move, but he has used it in his own type of individuality instead of what Endeavor tried to teach him to use the fire of his own way, that Shoto found himself using his fire to actually stop his brother. So I just love that type of characterization of him trying to evolve and get better with his own quirk that he hated using before. So I just find that very amazing.
Also, a small detail that I want to throw out there is that, like, I can't tell if it's just supposed to be the lighting, but you had pointed out that red and white phosphor thing, and I kind of want to point out that, like, it actually looks like there's white on the red side of his hair.
Yes,
in that shot.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I literally want to see it animated so bad.
And you know what? I hate.
I can see it.
I'm sad because that would have been Dobby had he not got burned up and like ruined his original quirk. You know.
And the other thing that I liked about this shot
Toya, my bad,
is that you can interpret this punch 2 different ways. You can either see it as he is encasing his ice in fire on his right hand to do this attack, or he has fully mastered his quirk to the extent that he can just make fire come out of his right hand.
That'd be dope.
He's been specifically, like, Endeavor is left-handed. If you look closely, you'll notice that a lot of Dobby's attacks start with his left hand. Mm-hmm. So for him to be able to use the power of the left with the right would suggest that either one, his like fire is now, like, his quirk can now be just controlled either side of his body, which I do think is now the case. But then also that would explain like why his hair is starting to shift, because it's no longer half and half. It's
because it's the way that he's half the way that we viewed it to this point.
I mean, in the official analysis book, he is literally described as freezes with his right half and burns with his left. That is literally how he's described with his quirk.
Right. So what if his quirk has now reached a pinnacle of evolution where it's equally parts burn and freeze on his entire side? Like, it's not like his body, but his whole entity is half now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Although I will say I'm very proud of Shoto for finally getting a third special move because he ain't had one this entire show.
You mean because he was using jet kindling and flash freeze heat wave, jet kindling and flash freeze heat wave.
Flash
more to
freeze
do.
This is the
Well,
fourth.
technically, this is the fourth one because
Because he has
Ice
Heaven
Wall was the
piercing
other
ice
one.
wall.
Yeah. Whew. So I'm glad he finally caught up to his classmates.
Well, that's one of the things that I thought was kind of funny is that like Deku and Bakugo, I think ultimately have the most number of moves. With Deku being because he's DMC, but like
Let's see,
'cause,
Bakugo has 5.
Bakugo, no. It's more than 5.
because he has AP shot, auto fire, rapid fire cannon, howitzer, the rolling howitzer that we only really get to see in
Yeah,
the second
Bakugo
movie.
got the most because that boy
Stun
played too much
grenade,
Call of
0
Duty.
point stun grenade.
0 point stun grenade.
Well,
And then
technically,
there's
Deku
like
has
a
the
mini-
most. He just doesn't use them all the time.
Well, Deku, I'll be honest, Deku doesn't have
Deku has
any
the potential to make.
outside of
he
Black
has the
Whip.
potential to make the
Yes.
most of them.
Exactly.
But
He has
he's
a potential
really,
to.
he really only has 2.
His
And
primary
he
moves
has
are
his version of the full cowling.
Of all my,
And he
but like,
basically has, well, I guess the air gun thing. And then he has the
don't count.
full
It's like
100.
open hand
So it's
slap.
really three moves technically.
no, he's got Delaware Smash,
I mean,
Delaware Smash,
that's
Air
his
Force,
things.
St. Louis Smash, Manchester Smash.
but do we count
What's it?
that?
What-
Even
what-
though that
so-
was
so
all my
Are
100%.
those his? Are those
I mean,
his though?
those
That's
aren't really
what
his. Those are
they
All
are
Might's.
now. Can
St.
All Might do it
Louis-
now? No.
Hold on, St. Louis, Manchester,
Hello.
Delaware are all Deku.
Yeah, those
exclusive
are
smashes.
unique states.
Those
Yeah,
are
they're
those-
unique
those
states.
Okay.
Those ones are Deku's for sure. As far as Detroit, yeah, like Detroit, that's All Might. But the rest of them, that's Deku.
I think there's only 3. There's 3 unique states. The air and the full. I think those are the core things. And
Yeah.
and really, the full is just another play on the full cowling Deku version. It's basically full cowling version 3.
But I count Black Whip in that though, so I feel like there's more.
I feel like Black
I
Whip
don't-
can be counted as a special move because of how
Yeah.
it's used. But I don't know, it's kind of weird because you have Black Whip, then you have Pinpoint Black
Until-
Whip, and you have
Until
Sensory
the
Black Whip.
vestiges, until the
Mhm.
vestiges say that man is using the quirk as his own, I'm gonna say it's not his own.
I would say it's his because guess what they did?
Damn.
I said it.
Dog said,
That
"Rest
man
in
said.
peace."
That man said. You ain't treating this like it's yours.
Exactly. I'm like they did. It's his now.
Also, Dobby still has his wisdom teeth, and that's crazy.
Yo, hold on.
I-
How did you look at
I'm
that
sorry.
detail?
That's hilarious.
I think he went after dinner. He's
Go
like,
to the
yo,
first
boy,
page,
open
go
that
to the first
mouth.
page,
That's low key hilarious. Good.
and
job.
then like look, and then you
I
can-
can't stand you.
It looks like
I didn't look
like
at that shit up real quick.
those are wisdom teeth. The rest of these
But
teeth
you know
are like
what's funny? I literally asked myself, why did he draw this like this? And I never thought to think, this nigga got his wisdom teeth still.
I cannot
I saw that,
stand
but then
you.
subconsciously, I didn't care for it. But like, I said, okay, cool. My boy still got his teeth. But I think it's like, yo, he still did not go to the dentist, boy, but got mad cavities most likely.
look.
Oh my
One of the
God.
things that like the unfinished sketch ended up kind of working is that it made his teeth look cracked, and
It
I was
did.
like, this is dope because like if you have all this rotten and decay and all this other stuff going on in your body, you are gonna start having your teeth rot and fall out. But apparently his dental plan
Not
is
Dobby.
immaculate.
Exactly.
His dental plan is
The League of
immaculate.
the Paranormal
First of all,
Liberation Army
just
got a
because-
fantastic dental
Yeah.
plan.
Just because he might
Yeah,
look
way-
musky,
yeah,
don't
way
mean
better
he don't
health
brush
insurance.
his teeth. Just because he look musky, don't mean he don't brush his teeth. All
I
right.
mean, usually it's synonymous. So, but
Some,
you know,
people,
I
some
feel
people just stink.
naturally. It is
But-
what it is.
I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this beautiful transition. People might hate me, but you know what other things could stink? You know, sometimes,
Oh,
you know, 3 months hiatus could sometimes
they
stink.
finna come for you. Ooh.
Like I said, I don't know how people are gonna feel about the transition out here, but you know.
Okay, so I feel like from a history of the show standpoint, that transition is perfect.
It is for
I feel like
Yeah.
people.
I know,
feel
that's
like
what I
if
said.
Anybody ever clips that out of context though? Like,
Yeah.
if somebody was to just like pull up and grab
Did you
it,
just shade yourself? Gosh,
you would
I'm
be
confused.
Packed up.
they finna put you all the way in the pack, bro.
Hey,
they
hey.
gonna look for this specifically because this is peak fiction. Okay.
Yo, the comments for that. Hey,
Yes.
for those that don't know what we're transitioning into and they haven't understood, or if you're a first time viewer or first time watching, my apologies on this transition then.
Oh,
Black
now he's
Clover.
apologizing.
Actually, to the first time viewers that are listening to this transition, if you've been here before, then nah, I'm good. Sam, not Black Joker.
Damn, Thomas called a straight. Yes.
Hey
You
yo,
heard Thomas.
hey yo.
They are all right.
Leave Thomas alone. Thomas be here faithfully, and you coming in like, yeah, whatever. Wow.
So we're gonna be talking about Black Clover chapter 330. And so 331. For those that
331,
don't
yeah.
know,
I gotta start.
I know.
Please
I just
do.
want to tell the audience.
Say, yo, Aniki, can you please go first? Aniki,
All right.
please.
For
I need you to go first.
for those that don't know, I'm gonna just say that there's gonna be a 3-month hiatus planned for Tate for health, and also this will be the announcement of the final arc of or the final saga of Black Clover. So the 3-month hiatus, this is what they plan. They will keep us updated for the next couple months if it will be pushed or get shorter, who knows. But for those
Give me
that
my
don't
damn
know
movie.
or are not on Twitter, who knows. But Aniki, since you want to go first, lay it out there, because I do want to just say that me and Ray gave this theory on Shonen Ronin a couple months ago. Been trying to find
It was
that
a
clip.
year ago.
Haven't been able to find it.
Because it was a year ago. You gonna go through a
What?
year of content just to find that clip?
that is
Especially not no podcast.
that is 40 episodes, and I tried to
This is
do
what I'm
5
saying.
episodes.
We said
yeah,
this
five,
a year ago.
Yeah, so I tried.
Look,
but me and Ray
I
get a
gotta
theory.
start with this. I
It's just
gotta
funny.
start with this,
Go on,
which is
Nikki.
that for the last 2 shows where we've talked about Black Clover, Kendall and I have both been like, Black Clover kind of got to wrap up. This feels like, and even if we were even last week, I was like, it's like that demons again. Great. At the very least, we ended up being right on both parts because
Yeah.
Tabata seems to agree like it's time to close out the story. But then also, yes, demons again. But with the twist. And
Always demons.
yeah, I know. I will say that I'm a little disappointed that
Demons,
all
question
the
mark.
Black
Always
Clovers,
was.
like villains ultimately are devils. Like devils have been the antagonists the entire series.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
Yeah.
because it's like,
Yeah.
it wasn't
Now
really
that we see it,
devils.
yeah.
It was so I'm like, I guess it's just always going to be the devils. But what I will say is that this Lucius Zogratis thing, I would have had more faith in the build-up, but there's certain stuff that in this chapter seals it for me, which is the damnatio, hurry, don't let me. Because what that lets me know is that the transformation spell that Lucius Zogratis used was complex enough that it was a genuine other person. And so from that perspective, like that whole, we're fighting the Wizard King, this is so difficult, that shouldn't really be there in the narrative when they go to take him on now, because it's outside of a similar look, he's objectively a completely different person.
So can I
I
interject
remember,
just real quick?
remember I said that last week. Remember I
Please.
said last week that he was a point of contention that still existed in the story.
Well, I mean, and the reason why I feel like they won't have that issue is because he's literally already set us up with this with William. Like, we know this. This is something that can happen. And so I feel like they'll be okay with it this time. They've already done it.
and it just I just want to say, like, when this happened on that Thursday or Wednesday night, was it, and like the whole Black Clover community on the timeline was just going crazy, and then Ray texted the group just saying, yo, it came true. I'm like, what came true? And they said our theory that we said a year ago. I'm like, can you be more specific? We said our theories. And then when he sent me a YouTube clip of said type of theory, I'm like, oh shit, that theory. And then the first time in my head, I'm like, it's funny how me and Ray just said that for fun, and we just said it that, hey, it could happen, it could not happen.
I was dead ass.
No, but thing is, we
It
said
just
as,
made
like,
sense.
we did, but we're like, yo, it's crazy. It could be true. It could not happen. But we're like, it's far-fetched. Like, that's what it felt like. And then to see that it actually came true, we were hilarious laughing. But the most crazy thing that the whole timeline was comparing this is to a theory of Isaac and Bleach saying this is peak fiction. That was what was overhyping it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm just throwing this over proportions. And it just got me laughing hilarious. hysterically. But to see how's that going for the turn of events, to not reading it with context, I'm like, okay, I fuck with it and I see how it is, but can't wait to see the execution. Once we come back and see the later chapters of how this all came to be, then I will see how the true twist or the reveal is. But with the current talks that we have now, I have no problem with it. It makes sense. Right?
And
Or
I'm
Watkins?
gonna say that peak fiction is being overused, but I think Aniki had another point.
What I want
Real
to say
tired
is
of that
that
phrase, by the way. Real tired of that phrase.
Agree?
one of the things the small details that I like about this is this also kind of circles back to one of the things that Ken and I were talking about, and we were talking about too, is that the kingdoms we already knew weren't going to go to war with each other. Like, we knew that wasn't going to happen.
That is true, because after this arc, they all went through the war with the Spade, but now that they're all done with the Spade and each of Diamond Kingdom are not controlled by bad people, they're all now in peace times. So we needed a next big boss. We all assume maybe the Archangels or Angels or maybe the Dwarves, but those were the next three, because we assumed that after Spade Kingdom, these type of devils being the bad guys were done. But we were
Vash, Vash, I didn't know you speak French. What's all this we talk? We what? Not me.
Well, I'm saying that the assuming part. I'm saying the assuming part that they would have been in peace terms, that we will probably see the next big bad.
As far as the kingdoms go, he's saying Ken.
I appreciate that, Aniki. You know, we.
Angels and dwarves. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
what
no. He means like
about?
Because, and this, Vash, what you're saying actually builds into the point that I was about to make too, which is perfect, because look at the grimoire that Julius actually has. Its centerpiece is every single kingdom's logo, which basically means that what Lucius has been doing has been going around the world and more or less like the Wizard King disappears at a time thing. So there's a Julius mindset that exists that lives in the Clover, but likely because he does all these transformations, he's made these different people and characters that exist within their own minds. And at this time that because he talks about stealing time from people too, that like,
which is so actually terrifying.
So to kind of relate to what's going on with the current Marvel show that's going on week to week, it's just kind of like Moon Knight. So technically they're all in one person, but they all share a personality in one body. Is that what you're saying, Aniki?
That's what I'm thinking is the case here, is that he's basically gone around and like Lucius has been the true personality, but he's made these other personalities and smaller things deliberately to go and learn and interact with these kingdoms and give them subconscious prods here and there, like making sure to keep Yami and William safe so that the Killpath can be made, while simultaneously allowing Julius to actually just be a good person and interact with them.
And I take it one step further. You know, Moon Knight is a multiple personality disorder, but in this is separate people. Like these literally are separate people that exist in the same vessel, which is completely different if you ask me. Because then it's like they're for the most part, it seems like he just became aware. Literally just became aware that like, oh shit, it's about to. He didn't even get to become aware, bro. He was in the process.
He was in the process of understanding it.
And literally, the fact that he was able to acknowledge it might have been a binding condition, because you know there's words, bindings, curses, all of these different things. And he literally, the moment he was having the epiphany, it was over. Which is crazy to me that Daimon even came in the room and said that to his face, because he's presented himself as such a cautious and like rule structure bearing person. I would think he would have came in with a SWAT team.
But the thing about Damnatio,
I mean, because he was like, it's Julius, I can go talk to him about this, right?
Because I'm also going to say that Damnatio is cautious and scrupulous, sure, but it's also more like he's so dedicated to the idea of peace in the kingdom that it's not, he's a hateful person out of love, not a hateful person out of hate.
Right.
Because he's trying to protect the Clover Kingdom. So like the Wizard King being a part of what he's most loyal to, and Julius being that guy that's been around for so long, he's like, you don't want to accidentally betray your people. And I think that's what it came down to. It's like that loyalty contradicted with what made sense of, if this is that dude, we need to hurry up and like do whatever it takes. If this
I also think it's the fact that I think it's a practical reliance on his magic. Like I was being a little butt about it, but you notice he had his scales out, right? Mm-hmm. I think it was like, look, I'm not even gonna judge you because I think you're this person, so I'm gonna let the scales judge you. But before he could get the scales to pass any judgment,
I mean, and that's because he like there was no way to literally tell because it's a completely different person. Right. That's why he was like, that makes no sense. I feel like if he had just walked in and didn't even say anything to set that conversation up, if he just walked in and boom was like scales, I think it would have tipped correctly, like in that very moment. It would have been very different
until Julius ceased to exist. And I think that was the point. Like the point was to always have that separation because again, you think back to
because that's how you don't get caught. He tested it with vengeance and what's his face.
Think back to the elves. The elves coexisted. They're two souls. Those are two souls that existed in the same body, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Basically, one was lying dormant in the other, and there was one body. And you notice that both souls were not allowed to coexist in the body at the same time.
But remind me, were they aware? Were they aware of each other though? If I remember, because I'm not sure if I remember.
Certain of the big ones knew and were aware.
Yeah, I think they were aware. Like Vengeance and shoot, I'm blanking on the name already.
Vengeance and Patry knew they were both in the same body.
Yeah, so see, and that's so I'm like that was where the mistake was made.
So what I think is important to factor in though is that when Julius mentions, like I use time stored up from the lives I've stolen or the time I've taken from other people, it's very possible that those transformations he uses are people whose time he's stolen.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
It makes perfect sense if you ask me.
He really likes going around and studying other people's things. That seems really cute, but it could really be a bleed over of the actual overarching personality.
I mean, he like Tabata calls back to a lot of certain chapters for a reason.
He's the one that found Yami, bro. Just think about that shit.
Yeah,
why was he there? Like, it's not even contextualized. Even when they explain it, it's not really contextualized why he was on the shore at that point in time. Or rather, why he knew to be on the shore at that point in time.
And plus, it also brings back, because remember when the Wizard King Julius asked Asta, like, hey, you have no magic. Julius never asked him. He just said, oh, your sword is taking my magic. Let me give it back to you because it works well for you because you have no magic. Asta straight up asked him, how did you know that? Because he didn't even ask him or they not even brought up the conversation about it.
So I thought about that too. And I was like, well, technically, you could just make that assumption. Because like if he's been holding this damn magic sucking sword, and it's like, well, that means he ain't got no magic, or he has vast amounts of magic which doesn't exist. I think it was just safe that he made that assumption based on what he saw. But there's also a chance. Yeah, I mean, you could say it like that, but I would hope that he made that assumption because he saw Austin using this sword.
I also assume that he could visually see it. So remember, Asta's the only one that does not have a perception of what magical energy looks like. So I feel like it can be seen. The way it's been animated, even in the anime, is that you can see the mana going into the sword.
That too, but also in the manga, there's two panels that show his smirk, knowing that he was interested by these swords and the way they take. And also he knew about...
That's my point. My point is that, I think Julius took a piece of the demon, I remember his name right now and I can't read it. So took a piece of the demon's personality and turned it into something that was his own personality. His curiousness to know about other things, about magic, about everything.
That's what I meant by
a perversion on the fact that all of this time was being gathered and a desire to have all of these different people's entities. He desired those things, but they both desired it for two different reasons.
And that's why I say that like Lucius was creating these people, these personalities, and then guiding them subconsciously to do the things that he still needed him to do or be where he needed them to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But Watkins, what's your overall thoughts as well? Because we haven't heard your full thoughts on this. Like, how do you feel about this twist or reveal? Is this Aizen level?
I don't know if it's Aizen level. It's. I'm gonna have to see where things go with it.
Exactly. We can't say that until we actually see how it ends up. Straight up.
Because that's the thing with Aizen is that after we saw that he, by the way, spoilers for Bleach for anybody who hasn't read
for like 15 years ago.
How dare you? How dare you?
If you're in the anime manga community and don't know about this twist, like about Ace or about other stuff that's known in the most overall story, then hey, you're late in the game.
This is a twist from the first arc of Bleach. I have no sympathy for you. Please continue.
The main arc of Bleach, no.
After we saw, like, Aizen come back after faking his death and then, like, his full plan being brought out to the table, it made that moment, that twist, that turn, so much more better. And so... Because then you start thinking about, okay, how did he get through all this? Like, how did he achieve this plan? How did this come to fruition? Not even just in Soul Society, but like the Arankar stuff, the stuff with the Hogyoku, all the way to his ending. Like, there was a moment when I was first reading Bleach, like way back in the day, back in high school, back when it was weekly and all that.
Yeah, oh my God. I'm old.
The chapter that dropped with Aizen saying, Ichigo, everything that you've done this far has been because of me. I've
orchestrated everything.
Very much the Thawne moment, which I was like,
So until we get that moment with
let's not get that moment though, is all I'm gonna say. Let's not get that moment.
I'd rather not. I'd rather it be its own thing. But
I agree.
Until we get to that moment, I can't really say if this is Aizen level or not.
We will never get to that moment, bro. Like, we will never get. We can't, because it's Aizen wasn't.
Let it just be Lucius's moment, bro. Let's just let it be.
Just let it be.
The thing that makes Aizen moment iconic is because Aizen was being Aizen. That's who he always was. He wasn't manipulating someone else's persona. He wasn't creating additional. This is something completely different, and that's no disrespect to what's happening right now, but that's disrespect to the thought that this is comparable to Aizen, because it's just not.
Thank you.
Because ultimately, what Aizen did was just do his stuff and not get caught.
Yeah,
literally.
Whereas what Lucius has done is created another being, more or less.
I mean, he's created another being and now has control of an entire kingdom that he just ran.
Also, imagine having the power of illusion and not needing to use your actual fucking power of illusion to cast an illusion on everybody. He literally just, with his own mental ability, his ability to understand people, his smarts, was able to manipulate the entire Soul Society. And then, add insult to injury, he has a Shikai that can do that casually.
I'm gonna be real. The Aizen stuff is dope. Like even if you go back and read in all its entirety and you get up to, it's like it's dope to like see it's what dope. It was. I was like, oh, this is dope. But still, with Black Clover is I love this because it's like he didn't fool nobody. He just had somebody else literally become a person and ascend to what they wanted somebody to be.
And I can't.
He just also had his own plan in the background.
And for that reason, I can't wait for people to see this plan for them. For example, Yami, William Vengeance, Asta, and these other characters that have full respect for Julius, aka the Clover Kingdom King.
Oh yeah, this gonna shatter them, bro.
This will shatter them, and like Yami.
I don't know if y'all realize Yami's already been looking at Julius sideways.
It's gonna come back. That is true.
It's gonna come back. But
he's been questioning him too. Like there are times that
what I can say about that is that Yami's always respected him for what he saw and did for him. But I don't. You've never seen Yami be buddy with Julius ever. Period.
No.
That is
he's
true.
like, you're weird, bro. Get up off me. That's what it's always been.
There's just a level of respect that Yami has for him. Like but there's still that distance where it's just like, okay, I respect you, dude, but
I don't trust you.
Yeah, I don't trust you. Like,
I mean, you should never trust somebody that powerful anyway. I'll be very frank.
No,
And
I don't trust somebody like that to walk my dog. No.
And now there's something extra. I'm glad you guys mentioned Yami, because now you guys remember what they said about his body, right?
Yeah.
So
Go ahead and remind the audience, just so we're not being cryptic.
Because
I mean, the Clover fans are experts. They know what we're talking about.
And they know more than us sometimes too.
We got non-Clover fans here. Come on, we got to look out for them.
That's all I'm saying.
But like his body's been modified. And remember, he was like, it's like he's brimming with mana and stuff. His body has changed since being attached to the Killpath, which means William's body has probably changed too.
Mm-hmm. Have we seen William?
William
The
is
last
being
time we saw
held.
William, he was making.
William's being held by
Yami.
Patry, right?
Okay, that's right. That was the last time we saw him. Damn.
Yeah, I think like 2-3 chapters ago. Because if I remember correctly, Patry
Because I was like,
him.
I was like, have we seen William actually say anything? I don't even know.
Yeah, like he made a sword for Yami. Let's see if I can find the chapter real quick.
Why you do that? I do want to say is that yeah, like it was like 2, 3, or 4 chapters back, like Kendall said. But Thomas said, "Who's William again?" William Vengeance is the one that has the dual personality with Patry. That's when.
Am I calling him the wrong name? I thought his name was William.
No, William Von Genturic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm about to say. I'm not wilding.
The captain of the Dons.
It's just
the Golden Dawn.
So now it makes sense why our girl Mijikula was there the whole time watching and waiting for him to lose the battle, because she was actually waiting to get the heart and to bring it to Lucius. So it shows that boy did his research very well. But now the question is that, is Damasio dead or is he just knocked out? What y'all think?
I hope that he's not dead, because he's actually a character.
I mean, if he was killed, it'd be way too suspicious. This character seems way smarter than that.
Yeah. I feel like even if he's killed, I feel like there would have been a way for him to maybe survive long enough to get something out.
If you think about it, let's be honest. Like, he probably would have rewound time before he walked. Like, literally, his mind and everything before he walked in the room, so he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
True enough.
True
Plus,
shit.
Tabata doesn't really.
Or a subverted memory implanted on top of it, and then Asta strikes him with a sword and he remembers.
That sounds too complicated. Let's not go there.
That sounds like exactly the
He
type of thing
erases the
that
time in his mind that he spent there.
Yeah. I mean, Thomas, I get what you're saying now. It's like, Vulture's who? Yeah, exactly. Because we ain't seen that man actually do or say anything in a while.
That wasn't my original thought. That was me being perverted by what Thomas has done to me for the past several years.
Oh man. I mean, so I will say, I'm thinking about this arc as a whole now. At this point, it was all worth it. I was worried that it wasn't going to be worth it. That was what I was worried about this entire time.
That is true. That is true.
I have loved a whole lot of parts of this arc, but there were more parts I'm like, but what are we getting to?
Yes.
Where are we going? And now that I see where we're going, I'm like, yes. Because, thank you for not wasting my time.
Remember,
thank you.
Remember before you took your break, and remember when we were reviewing Black Clover week to week, and I kept saying, I want some chaos. I want some type of depression shit. Like, I
didn't want chaos. I wanted
me.
Story
okay,
direction.
I guess.
I didn't see where we were going. I wanted to see where I wanted to at least get an inkling of where Tabata was going. And now we didn't know, but now we know. So I'm.
I asked for chaos is because all our characters were kind of winning their battles. AKA, Asta won his battle.
I mean, at this point, though, were they?
I mean,
technically,
they were just doing what they needed,
according to plan.
Wanted them to do.
Yeah, so technically they were going according to plan, so they won according to his plan. But like I was saying, I kept asking, okay, all these battles are being won, but what's the end game? Like, they're gonna have to lose a big stake. So I kept saying maybe Yami or maybe Vangelis is gonna die, or some big thing has to take them away from all this win.
Big thing. They lost the fucking Wizard King. That's a big thing.
They probably lost the kingdom because this guy could literally just drop a whole spell and destroy the kingdom with that kind of book.
I don't think he wants to do that. There's something else there.
Y'all have to understand that, yes, I was just about to say, there's something else. And I kind of hinted to this last week, that we know that whenever a demon's heart is taken, there is some other alternative, something that is sealed that is being unlocked, some next level of power that has to be granted. And then this even adds to that point, because the point of like, okay, it's one of the original big three. Two of them are gone. The power is being basically condensed, like, so what is this heart going to be used for? And why did he need someone else to take him down? Because the question is like, okay, was he equally as powerful? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of questions here that is going to have to get clarified really quickly in the next, like, as we transition into whatever the rest of this is. But yeah, you really have to be mindful of, just like, again, like I said, he already was as strong. So why not just work with them? Like, there's another plan that we're not fully aware of. I think it's been said to us, but I don't think we're fully aware of what this plan really is. And I think it has to do with the fact that everyone has been saying, even some of the lesser demons have been kind of talking about the structure of the world, talking about the fact that demons have been trying to find a way for a while to X, Y, and Z. But I think the red herring was the doors, and the doors connecting the two worlds. But there's actually something even greater beyond that.
I mean, and I don't know, just from my take as like myself perceived as a creator, I wouldn't consider those red herrings. I would just say that those were goals that other characters had, and this character had a different goal on top of all of those that trumped those. So it was like, yeah, had he succeeded, things would have gone differently or different.
Audience.
But
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
I mean, to us as an audience, not the story itself. Like, it's not a red herring to the story, which I should have clarified. I think for the audience, for you as the reader, it was kind of like a bait and switch. Like,
I mean, it was misdirection. He was like, I want you to go this. I want you to look here. Yeah.
I need you to go in this direction. Exactly. I need you to look in this direction.
Which I appreciate. I really do, because that's what I said I was worried about. I was worried that we were going to get to a point where I felt like I was worried my time was going to be wasted. Agreed. And thankfully, it was not.
Also, it was chapter 323 where Vengeance was last seen.
Damn.
So he made us he straight up made a sword for Yami, and then just like,
all right, I'm dead. Bye.
He listen, hey bro, here's your sword. Hey, we are even, right? Because I lied to you and everything. We're cool friends. All right, cool.
He basically says all the rest of me I put into this. If I'm not mistaken, right?
I poured all my magic into it.
I'm kind of annoyed though, because I'm like, had the three of them fought, it would have been a lot easier of a fight. But whatever, it's fine.
Well, so the Mistling blade, I just real quick looked it up. The sword that he gave Yami, because Vengeance isn't a direct combat type anyway. That was kind of established.
Right, true. The support, yeah.
So the sword he gave him is based off of an important sword from like Nordish or like mythology that involves like kings and all kinds of stuff. So basically it was this is like giving him a Nordic Excalibur.
Yeah, because
that way.
When I saw that sword, it reminded me of Groot from Thor.
World Tree. Man, that makes them World Tree.
Yeah, World Tree, the King of Swords. Yeah.
So it makes sense. Well. But before we wrap up Black Crow, I want to give another question about that. How do you guys feel about Yuno and Asta still want to be the Wizard King, and Yuno being the next king of the Split Kingdom, and his mom being alive?
That man said
his mom literally just popped out and said, "Hey, this is your mom."
That man said, "I answer no questions until I run Asta's fade. I answer nobody's questions until I smoke Asta, bro." That's what that man said.
What I'm gonna say is it was kind of wild, because she was like, "You're our son. I'm the queen. Woo!" And then Yuno's like, "That's interesting. I'm gonna go be the Wizard King." Like, and my stance on this is that I've expected the Diamond, Spade, Heart, because like once the Clover Kingdom pulled up in the Heart Kingdom and they was revealed to be a bunch of hippies, it was like, y'all might as well just join up together and just keep that as like a nice wild zone. Yeah. The Spade Kingdom, it's like, y'all, Yuno is your crown prince and he's loyal to the Clover Kingdom, so you're gonna be joined anyway. And then you got, Diamond. They already been handled. So it's like we got all this royalty and stuff. Like all these connections are done. Like these will be united. Yuno is at minimum going to be a king or lord of some kind.
I mean, he
Asta's gonna die. Just be honest. Asta's gonna die. That's what's gonna happen.
No, he ain't.
Like As far as I'm concerned, Asta's role as Wizard King won't be a big deal or as big of a deal because Yuna will be an equivalent role via being royalty of Spade.
They're gonna be rival kings. That's literally what it's boiling down to.
Or I wouldn't even say rival. I think it's just
or two kings.
This is what Aniki and I keep saying. It's gonna be a united front of some sort. And now that we also know that you're gonna basically, if we do get it as an actual reveal to the open entire world and in series, then you have something to unite the kingdoms behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know who said that in chat, but like you joked about Asta becoming a demon king. I mean, if it's Lucius's plan to like make devils like a part of the topside world, that's not too far fetched because when you create a power vacuum like that with the demon world, you got to have somebody who can keep the order. So if Asta's and Libra are the ones that can keep the order in that, it's not a bad idea because I mean I don't think the Clover Kingdom survives this. I'll completely honest. I feel like that's the big sacrifice.
We open in the final arc and that kingdom don't exist, bro.
I'll be surprised if at the end they were like, and everything was okay in the Clover Kingdom. I'll be very surprised because it has been the most protected and well kept of all the kingdoms so far, and that was because of Julius. So I'm like, well, get him out of the picture.
I think what would be cool is to see the devastation of an entire nation, the resurgence of natural mana to that area.
That'd be wild.
And just kind of like the repercussions of what that has to do. But
I'll be real. I am not going to doubt myself anymore on my damn Black Clover predictions. Okay, I ain't. No more.
I'm going to double down on them.
Look, let's be honest. Y'all think I'm capping about this Asta thing, but Asta done lost a whole arm.
I mean, yeah. But his homeboy holding on to it. That's with him right now. He good.
Hey, I'm just saying. You was talking about the Demon King thing.
He's like, hey, can you get my arm back? He'd be like, yeah, that's right. I get it. My bad.
Hey, somebody gotta go down there and keep those pesky demons in check. And the type of personality that Asta has, I can really see. The demons aren't naturally bad people. You know, they just need a little bit of guidance.
Yeah, I mean, so like it's definitely a chance. But if anything, I'm like, well, will he just get that to leave and then he'll just go live a normal life and try and marry his sister for the rest of his life? You know, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I don't know if Asta is actually going to get a partner. If he does, I'll be shocked.
The death of Asta has a lot more payoff than Asta living.
Well, I'm gonna say right now, I don't want to see Asta die. I don't.
I don't want it either. I don't want it either, just to be clear. But much like we were talking about Endeavor earlier, I think it's a plausible thing that's on the table. Whether he does or doesn't, I think the story can still be handled in a good way. But I will say that I feel like there's a lot of upside to Asta's life. Even if it's not like the main theme of things, or even if it's not necessarily his actual life, but his life in this, like, let's say, above land, I think something dynamic is going to change.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
So I just want to say, big W for Black Clover. This was a good way for them to kind of go on break.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that person.
Chapter they could have gone on.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to say, oh, this is peak fiction. This is one of the best twists in all of show.
I wish it wasn't this week for them, bro. I really wish it wasn't the same week of My Heroes chapter and JJK's chapter. I really wish somehow it wasn't this week. God,
I love this chapter, but I'm like, I will never go on record saying anything is peak anything because guess what? We're never going to see that peak because you're going to die eventually. Is all I'm saying. Anyway, that's just me being about life. This is very, very, very good. This is very, very good, and I'm really happy. I really want to see where the next arc's gonna go. Like the last arc. I'm really excited. I can't wait.
Same. My last thought for the Black Clover. It was great chapter. It ended off in a beautiful twist ending that could come up depending on its execution when it comes back from hiatus. Hopefully it actually does come back and it doesn't become like hiatus by hiatus. So let's actually see if this has a good execution.
You don't get to say that.
How dare you?
You don't get to say that. You do
Hey,
not
this is
get
my
to
last
say
thoughts.
that.
If I want to put little jokes in and little sprinkle in, let me at least sprinkle.
You know
some
who
in
the
there.
joke is? The person who ain't watched it.
Damn, so you tell me my whole life is a joke? Shit.
I got you.
I mean, if you
thought
want to put it out,
you were one who was like, yeah, let me put a few shots out there, and you got shot point blank, and it's like, oh, I can't believe I've been shot.
Anyway,
you know what they said. Don't throw stones when you live in a glass house.
but overall, I'm really happy with this chapter. Like Aniki and like Kendall has said over the past couple of weeks and months, about Black Clover has been hit and miss with the chapters being inconsistent and the power skill. Now I'm curious to see how more broken the power skill is going to be coming up in this last arc in Saga.
Bro? Y'all need to let that go.
Yo, Asta's captain level. Asta's captain level already by now.
Let it go,
boy.
Let it go.
No,
let it go.
We literally said this, and again, I literally talked about this. It doesn't make any sense.
Don't make no
Because
sense. Let it go.
They didn't even find a. They did not just fight a top demon at their max power to begin with.
That's
so
true.
It doesn't even matter.
That's true.
It doesn't even
So
matter.
let that shit go.
All right.
Also, that's how they kind of got around it with the Royal Knight Squad, right? They were like, these are the special knights.
Exactly.
And then it was like,
They're not the most powerful knights, they're the special knights.
And now it's like, like the whole Black Bulls are around.
I will say that
level,
all of that
it's-
conversation should have been killed when Manga gave hands to Dante. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
True,
saying.
that is a fact. What? Oh, well, I hope for the Black Bull's character, aka Charmy, and other ones, Zoro get in this more shine in this what's the arc called? Because I can't lie, I fuck with this name of the last arc, the Ultimate Wizard King. I think it's called the saga.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called, or
yeah.
that was just a statement?
No,
we don't know for sure which way, but
from what it's saying, from the Shonen Jump and everything, it's saying that this is what the last saga is called. But if he does change it when he comes back, who knows? But the Ultimate Wizard King, curious to see what that comes up with. Hopefully Charlie, hopefully Gordon, hopefully Gage, and other these characters get some shine, because I want to see more of their broken type abilities and what they can do. More importantly, Charmy, because girl got dwarf. I want to see more dwarf shit. If it's also some angel archangels come out this arc too, hope to see that and done well. Because I like to see.
Give Luck
It's
an
cool.
elemental beast. Thanks.
Yes, that'd be some dope shit.
Yes.
That'd be some.
What
dope
if Luck?
shit.
What if Luck is like the reincarnation of the elemental beast? That's why you always want to
wouldn't
fight.
be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised because that's why boy will always be going on his four paws.
That's why you
like
always
a
want to
beast.
fight, and he's
It's
always
just a
like,
thing of
"Oh
armor
yeah, I just
that
want to fight."
comes
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. It's just him.
But Watkins, what's your last thoughts on this Black Rock chapter? Any things that you expect to see on this last arc, or that you like to see?
This chapter was something I needed with Black Clover, because I'm not gonna lie, at least for me, it's been a little stale. Kind of in the same boat of like, hey, where are we going? What are we doing? Like, what's going on? But man, this probably one of my favorite chapters of Black Clover, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I hope for a lot of because one of my favorite moments during this arc was that Magne Dante encounter. So I'm hoping for something on that level with this final arc. Man, I don't know. Just I want answers. That's basically what I need before I can like fully say how good this twist is at the end.
Aniki, your last thoughts?
We'll see what Black Clover got to do when it comes back, and wishing the best to Tabata and his family, of course. But we'll see. I don't want to speak too much on this. It has potential. I remember loving like the Royal Knights exam arc, for example, was still one of my favorite moments in Black Clover. I remember loving the introduction of Zora and his character. So I'm positive that if Tabata can just somehow like reach into that bag that he was in when he was, doing Royal Knights exam for me, when he was writing Zora, when he was introducing Noct, if he can reach into that bag for Lucius Zokratis, we'll be in for a good spot. That's what I'll say for Black Clover.
And Kenny, your last thoughts?
So I just want to say that Vin Diesel would be proud of all the family talk in this chapter.
I'm done. Kick him out of the call. Kick him out. Get him out of here.
No,
Get him out
but
of here.
seriously, I'm really glad that we decided to pick up Black Clover and cover it for the last several weeks to get to this point. And I'm content. Much like Aniki said earlier, we've been saying that for better or for worse, even if there's more, this story it needed to stop where it was within 10 chapters, and it did within 10 chapters. I think it was a good place to stop. I think for people who have not been connected to the series for a while, go ahead and catch back up, or if you want to wait till it starts back to catch back up, it's fine. But this was a good point of pause for me. This is a good point to just stop and be like, all right, here's where life is. Here's all the people that you cared about, which I did point out before, that we saw all of our characters, the little happy moments, and a little flash everybody's powers again at the end with the thread and the food magic, etc., etc., etc. So they kind of already showed us who's probably supposed to be the key players of this next arc, and I just want to see again the wellness is preserved mentally and physically, and we could get back in our bag. And Black Clover finish on a strong note. I think this is a good stance for them, and I'm happy to see. Much like we were talking about Shoto kind of preserved character with writing, I'm glad that we saw Yuno preserve his character as well. That was actually a very big thing for me.
Nice. Some great thoughts there. So if you're like Vin Diesel and like to talk about family, you also like to give them hands, because that's what you've been doing since Fast 5. So let's get into JJK.
All right. This week's JJK. I feel like this might actually end up being a shorter section for us, because
It was short.
if I'm honest, a lot didn't happen. Like we got some cool potential here with like, oh yeah, like the ability is cool, like him basically like fighting and creating this manga panel and using a pen. Like somebody I saw mention was like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool that these modern day sorcerers who are professionals have weapons that like tie into their professions. The real thing that I guess, because like we've seen precog stuff before, like the 1 second thing is nice, but what do you guys think is like actually Hikari's ability? Because we have not gotten like a hard, this is what his curse technique is. And now it seems like we're jumping all the way up to domain.
So I think it's got something to do with debt. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think
because every time, or like you're
you're
wagering. Because everybody's like, oh, it's so rough when he hits you. It's like sandpaper, and I'm like, so like it's grating, and I'm like, And then he's always talking about like
soul?
Like it's soul, bro? I think it's just something, because it hurts when you get hit, and then like just in general, and like they don't ever really talk about anybody like that. Like they talk about, oh, it was really strong with that hit, or it was like it cut, but like his is just it's jagged. So, like Knuckle. Potentially, like a little bit like Knuckle, yes.
Yeah,
Vash wouldn't get that reference.
Yeah, chat room, I'm like, who that?
Guys.
I'm like,
what I like about
I'm like
this,
Sonic.
too.
I'm like Idris Elba. That you?
Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Because like if you remember, like he does like he pulls his hands together and like these two doors like pop up or whatever, and like try to like close in on Yuji. And I'm trying to figure out what that was about.
Yeah, what was that about?
Oh.
So the way I feel like Hikari has skills.
Were they in his domain expansion?
That's what I'm trying to think right now. Because
like, when they went to see him the first time,
yeah,
were they in his? Did they walk into his domain expansion?
See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm just like, wait, is his domain? Does it look like maybe like a debt collector's office, or like,
how he wants it to look,
or like how he, like that's what I'm trying to think. I'm like, okay, can that tie into like this?
Because it's called Idle Death Gamble.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, he said, "I want to make a wager with you with Yuji." Didn't he? He said something like that when he walked in.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes, he did.
So it's
kind of like he met the conditions.
Exactly.
Oh, again, like I've been saying, the domain thing is going to be a main part of the way we go with stuff. And as soon as we got right around into it, we already got domain things. And I think you guys are on the right page, because again, I keep saying what we've learned over the course of the past several fights is that domains are subject to the user.
Mm-hmm.
The structure, the size, the execution are all subject to the user. So I think that's a good premise. I'm personally not going to read too far into this. I got very excited about two things. The name of the domain got me excited. Just because, again, like you guys have pointed out, we don't know much about the ability. But we do know that it's the hit condition was explained. We know what type of domain it is, at least in that regards. And we know that basically this is a couple seconds in the future. I don't think we actually caught up to him actually using it. It was like he was able to perceive what was about to happen. This was really just a very fluid page turn, and that's all it is for me. And I have nothing else. Like, it's just a really fluid page turn. I think when this gets animated, I think animators are gonna have a field day animating this fight sequence. But besides that, I don't really got much, man.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to add,
yeah.
like the way his fighting style, Hakari remind me a lot of our boy Todo. Like the way that you go brute force, but you also know how to combat it with the skill, and know that once you read the room and know of your opponent curse technique, like he knew how to tell the future of where he was gonna swing, and the Toto would have done the same thing, gone behind him, swung for him in the back, where those are his blind spots. The same thing.
What's an even better reference? The reference that Ray made to Knuckle, but you haven't watched Hunter x Hunter.
You know.
So hold on, because one of the things that I do want to point out though is that I went back and found chapter 155, the one where Yuji and Hikari tussles were a bit.
Yeah.
And it looks like, and I can't tell if these are supposed to be like doors or razor blades or what they're supposed to be, because if they're supposed to be razors, then it's because Yuji barely managed to protect his neck that he didn't die.
155, what page?
Pages, you can see him use it between pages 10 and 13, like all the way through 10, 13. Because he does like this and summons them.
Oh yeah,
after
see that.
Throwing the cup. And then so we know he can't be his domain either, because you don't dodge an auto hit, a can't miss technique just by jumping. And we had it covered based on the domain activation and what just happened in this chapter today.
I mean, because they literally just said it in that chapter. Yeah,
because of the can't miss ability, he was informed of what it was. So this couldn't have been a domain attack here, unless Hikari's domain. Unless Hikari has more than one domain.
Is that a credit card?
Using a simple domain to expand the ability, the range to which he's able to utilize his ability initially, and this is the actual full-on domain expansion. I mean, which now takes the ability from, he basically maybe simple domain to get from accuracy of like 80 to 90%. And now this takes it from 90 to 100%. I'm not saying that's what happened, but just another thought process.
I mean, just kind of, if you go back, like in that same chapter, you know how they bold certain words that like actually mean something. So they bolden the words fever. Fever is gambling, and gambling is life. Love and love is control. And he's talking about a fight club. So it's like, is his space like a fight club? You know?
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that I want to know about what's up with his cursed energy, since it has an edge to it. So
it's also called a gamble. It's a sure hit gamble, guys.
Yeah,
because is his cursed energy like Yuji, where he has a divergent fist that's a double hitter, where with Yuji he punches, but then you get delayed fist again. And for Hikari is probably the same, that where he has that.
Why did they make
razor around his fist, like where he could kind of scratch you off while he punches you?
Yeah, it's like he shaves you down.
Yeah, like it's where he punches you, but then he cuts you at the same time within his punch.
So okay, he made a point to say this because we already know. So it's like, due to the guaranteed hits effect, Hikari's domain expansion, like his domain and curse technique, two different things, can be, by the way, were revealed to Charles's brain.
Because
you notice that it's two separate things, right? So at least it's the way it's said. It's
exactly the way it's said.
Well, if you think about it, because like for example, Megumi's curse technique is to create Shikigami out of shadows.
Yeah.
But it's more than just creating Shikigami, because we can see that he can store and move within his own shadow. And in turn, his domain isn't actually like about the Shikigami. Instead, it's about the shadow itself and expanding the shadow, putting the shadow everywhere, and then manipulating his shadow to create copies of any Shikigami he already has. So, and then including clones of himself, which we don't normally see Megumi making shadow clones mid-combat. We've seen him do like some substitutions, but we've only really seen him use that skill when he has the domain active. So it's clear that like your domain can increase your ability enough that it kind of changes what it does. But I also think that that's why certain characters don't have domain, because of their techniques themselves. Like look at Nanami. What does a guaranteed hit of overtime or a can't miss hit of 7-3 look like?
This is the way I love
That
the way
shit
this
look
man.
like that shit look like 1-1, nigga. That shit.
I love the way this man writes. I love the way he writes. It's just really fun to like see how he explains like things that he's writing against himself, which I really do love to see. It's like, all right, how do I explain this?
That's what I was gonna bring up. Like, I wonder if Gedget thought process is like he thinks to himself and asks himself, how would I explain this to myself if I was trying to understand it? And he has to break it down for himself to understand, and plus for the audience. Yeah, for us, the audience. Yeah. And it's pretty dope as well.
But no, I'm with Aniki on, like, I want to know why his curse energy is so rough. Like, why? Like, it don't make no sense. I gotta see why. But didn't they also say that he's like one of the stronger third years or something like that? Like, the strongest one?
Yuta said when he gets going, he's stronger than him.
Damn. Like, so he catches that fever, and if he's on a win streak, yeah, okay.
So like,
so the more he gets, it kind of like some type of connect energy. Like the more he gets rolling, the more he gets winning. Like Ray brought up, he gets that extra streak.
That's a guess.
Right. And I've seen people compare him to Finks because he's got that wind up thing that Finks, which.
But if he goes bust, then it's a wrap.
So like, kind of like a reverse knuckle in a way.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
But Vash will get that reference.
Yeah, I agree as well.
Shut up,
reverse
Vash.
knuckle.
So basically, his ability is something like Jackpot Knuckle from Bleach.
Yes.
So yeah, his ability is like
Jackpot Knuckle. Yeah.
Why are they all called Knuckle in Jack? Wow, that's weird, huh?
We have a lot of knuckles in
Japan. You get your ass beat.
Well, now I'm curious about the original name was.
Right, the original name, yeah.
Because a lot of times, if a thing
that says way more about it,
it's just fist, and so sometimes they'll change it to knuckle for variation purposes.
Fair.
Man,
JJK is very good. This is very good. Like I said, there's not a lot to say about this chapter because it was just more of he loves to draw his fights, and he draws his fights really well, which I really appreciate. With some commentary, which he was calling out. He's talking about the weebs who are never satisfied, which he ain't wrong. But I'm like, yeah, no, this is just fun. This is good. I'm enjoying it.
Looking it up, the name of it was.
The quotes? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Aniki.
The Jakuputo Nakuru. So yeah, definitely was originally Jackpot Knuckle.
Yep.
So yeah.
There you go.
We on a roll, bro. We about this, bro. We do this. Then
And you could so one of the things that I've always said about I've said about JJK is that yes, it takes inspiration from Hunter x Hunter, but it very clearly takes inspiration from Bleach. Especially when you look at the way like we start off like the curses the same way we hunted Hollows, and then we just jump into all right, now we just gotta whoop it.
Taking inspiration from some of the best places in Shonen is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Didn't
like you just improve in your own style. Black Clover. Like
look at Kenjaku. Look at Kenjaku. And for anybody who's read the story arc Everything But the Rain and during the 1,000-year Blood War of Bleach, Kenjaku is very similar to what Aizen was doing to make Ichigo.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like legitimately.
UG.
Yeah.
Ah shit.
Test tube babies. Yeah.
I think I test tube babies.
Yo, I still can't wait.
Shout out to the test tube babies.
I still can't wait until Gadget reveals what the fuck is the Kenjaku and Yuji's connection of mother/father and son type of shit. I'm like, yo, I just wanna
Look, Kenjaku is his mom and his dad. We know this.
Kenjaku put that brain ussy into birthing Yuji.
It's true. Yep. I know y'all think it's nasty, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
that's his mama and
Kenjaku
his
slapped
dad.
that. Yeah, Kenjaku slapped that Toto right there. It made a whole kid.
That's why that's the one thing people were like, Kenjaku's greater than Aizen because he can canonically say he fucked Yuji's dad.
Because he is.
He did it. He deadass did it. So like, what can you prove?
He's the nastier version of Isaac. That's all I'm saying.
Like,
Yikes.
I just
Make it
can't wait
nasty.
to like.
He nasty.
It's like the reread of JJK is gonna just be like, wow, this was all just a big setup. Like whenever JJK ends, and I don't know why
I
people
can't stand you for making that a thing. Brain us. No.
Wait. What's worse is that for some reason people like it's quick side tangent. Does hope it's not too long. Is that I don't know why people have this crazy misconception. Once Black Clover, JJK, and My Hero ends, everybody thinks that the magazine of Shonen Jump is gonna fail. Like once those three big series ends, and if it's One Piece, they think that the roster of Shonen Jump is not gonna be as good as it used to. I'm like, that's what it's always been. Is a change of cycle of new series all the time. I've seen that in the timeline this past week, just because they said, oh, Black Clover is gonna go to the final saga.
I mean,
and JJK and My Hero is gonna end in the next 2-3 years. So it's like, what?
Did DC fail when we finished Crisis on Infinite Earths?
It's a new generation of manga.
Finished Flashpoint?
Like we just transition to the next generation.
Let me explain something. Is that people forget that this Shonen Jump's target audience isn't us. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful.
Don't make them have to think about somebody other than themselves. No.
But that's the thing is like, yeah, you know, we have to realize, like, again, like I just explained this to somebody. I was like, we joke about Ash like not aging over this 2 to 3 decades, but also Ash isn't for you anymore. Ash doesn't ever have to age because the appeal isn't to continue appealing to you for your entire life. It's
for your
appeal
grandkids.
to whatever the current generation is, so that you can always have a connection between multiple generations over that same character. I think that's why it was really hard to let go of Goku in Dragon Ball Z as being the protagonist.
I wanted Goku to go away so bad. I don't know what you're talking about.
I still want him to go away.
We got Team Gohan, and I was like, okay, go away, Goku. I want to see more
current
Team
arc
Gohan.
right
And then
now.
guess what they did to me?
Yo, big shout out to Bardock. That's all I'm saying. Big shout out to Bardock.
Wow, you just vashade all
yeah,
those
but
people.
that's just a re-emphasis on Goku being the protagonist that he doesn't need to be. But that's a different story. My point was, Pokemon continues to exist because of the relevance not being the current what the perceived current audience of otakus are or blurs or whatever. It's the fact that shonen is at the end of the day a genre that is made to inspire the youth. There are many
other people to make more manga. Yes,
and you know what?
Exactly.
This is a perfect segue because we can now transition into what I believe will be the topic that gets Watkins to really start talking. One Piece, because there's something that I really want to point out in this conversation that we're having here, and that's Oda has directly stated, I'm drawing.
Guess what? I'm like still 500 chapters behind. So yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all on the flip flop. Yep.
Oh wait, so
this man.
Listen, I read 500 chapters in 6 months.
Before you go, of what you read, what's your top pick of the ones you read?
This week?
Yeah, but I'll say like right before you go, chapter of the week. Before you go,
I think we do only have One Piece and Ayashimon left, right?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, so let me be real with y'all. There's another story that I really, really, really love that a lot of people are talking about, and that's Earthchild. Earthchild.
I love Earthchild.
Earthchild is very good. It also hits very close to home for me right now, but it's like personally, it's very good. But if I'm gonna go by the chapters that we got today,
I pick whatever, bro.
No, for like the ones that we talked about. I got to give it to Dabi and Shoto. Like I just love the way that like it was drawn really well. It had all the like the dialogue I was hoping for between the two of them. It was the stuff that I've been looking for. JJK, so it's always good though. I never have a problem with JJK because it's always good. Black Clover finally gave me what I was looking for as well. But yeah, this My Hero stuff, I'm just like, I'm a big nerd for that. I've been waiting on that. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to that. Very good.
All right.
Ray, it was a pleasure to have you.
Ray goes out in a blaze.
Okay, wait. Albert said, don't forget Undead Unluck.
I mean, I'm only 5 chapters behind on that. So yeah.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, Ray doesn't read Undead Unluck either.
I'm only 5 chapters behind. So don't worry.
Well,
next time I'm here, we can talk about that.
We hope to have you again in the future.
Red Hunter x Hunter.
That's true. I'm much further in everything else than Vash is in Hunter x Hunter. So
we appreciate you being here. We hope to have you again in the future. To our special guest, Roy Apollo.
Special guest, my ass, and one of the founding fathers.
I knew you were. That's why I said that and added you there. But that's Roy Apollo XZ. Aniki, would you still want to continue with the beautiful transition you did for One Piece, or would you want to?
Because what I did want to say was that Oda always says, I am specifically drawing the dreams of boys. And this is something that I have to like keep in the back of my mind when I read One Piece, because, and this will be controversial, but One Piece often gets a little too much credit for the maturity level. Because people will be like, well, it talks about slavery. But I'm like, you got to understand that, like, yes, One Piece kind of like talks about these topics, but it doesn't like really try to dwell on them hard and just like make you sit there and think hard about it and like really think about it, because like slavery is primarily used to establish that it is the antithesis to the greatest treasure that the story talks about, which is freedom. So it's like these things, these darker aspects matter, but they're not the main focus, and we're probably never going to get like this super heavy, like the way like we get these dark stories, right? Like with Mr. Pink and with like Law's childhood and stuff like that, but the plot isn't necessarily about their trauma dealing with these things. Like we don't get a Todoroki plot out of One Piece, because One Piece is specifically designed to bring joy and be a series that makes you happy and is aimed at younger people. So even though it feels like, oh yeah, like you catch more things in One Piece that are more mature and it feels like it's aging with you, there comes a point where like you start being like, damn, Oda, let these moments be serious. Like when Kinemon was running around farting, a good chunk of us was like, I'm a grown ass man. I'm not trying to watch him fart in the middle of this war. Give me like the actual plot.
So
it's like some manga could grow with their audience, or like have their audience's growth in mind, but it's clear that some manga are like, you guys love this because it's a piece of your childhood and you're holding on to it and you get to stay in this state. So I'm going to stay evergreen as a more young focused series, and that's okay.
My thought to that, before I let you know, go Watkins, but is I feel like Oda has been very consistent with that. It's because he is from the older generation where he has grown to improve in his story beats, talking about the child experiments, Odin Punk Hazard, talking about with what's happening with current Wano and the whole type of liberation with the freedom of the Nika-sama, with all that's going on. But I feel like he still gives the comedy joke because of the Shonen Jump, and because of the magazine, and also probably because his editors tell him. It could be vice versa, but also I feel like it's from his core style of writing One Piece since 1997, and he came up with this idea since 1991, I believe, since the interview I can remember. So with all that he's been writing this for almost now 25 years in concepts story, I feel like it's embedded with him. Yes, there are times I would like it a bit less that he writes with all the fart jokes, with all the comedy, but I've noticed that he doesn't put it always when it has a serious moments, that he puts it more when the crew is on the ship. But I'm very happy that he's been slowing down with the comedy bits overall, but for his character with Luffy right now, with Nika, it makes sense because it's not like a dual personality. Wait, now that I think about it, every single Black Clover, JJK, and other character right now has a dual personality in some type of retrospect right now at this moment. It kind of does right now. If you think about
Kinda,
One Piece
yeah.
with Luffy, and Black Clover with what's going on, and with JJK, with Kenjaku, with what we used to presume and everything. So each type of series right now, cast kind of has their own dual personality. But yeah, that's my quick thoughts. Watkins?
I mean, and I guess to go along with this discussion, this topic, I actually talked to a friend of mine one time who is caught up with One Piece, and he's not really enjoying it and all that. And I asked him, I was just like, "Well, do you think maybe you're just getting a little too old for it?" Because everybody might throw out, because I see this as a lot of people that want to criticize the criticizers of One Piece. Oh, if you're not enjoying it, then stop reading it. It's like, that's kind of turned into a meme. But like when you just sit down and think about it, maybe you have just grown out of it. Maybe you are just reading it just to finish it, and that's fine too. It's just, I think the biggest thing is just to kind of admit that to yourself, like, okay, I am 31 years old reading this story that's technically for teenagers right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really getting the same enjoyment as it than others. Maybe, maybe I'll just let it, do its thing, and I'll catch up another time. I'll read this book by Hemingway or something. I don't know. Now me on the other hand, I love One Piece. I love my little stupid stuff that's been going on, except for Kinemon farting. But yeah, I mean, you enjoy what you enjoy.
Like, for example, like since Gear 5's activation, the fight has gotten a lot goofier, but it's still
true
maintained,
to its core,
right? And so this is like an example of like Oda like sticking to that gun of like younger stuff while simultaneously not doing it in a way that breaks the immersion or enjoyability for those of us who are older. Because you got Luffy tweeting this chapter after getting smacked with one of the attacks, and even the way he's like interacting with Kaido, where he's just stretching his skin because it's just an application of his awakening to get all toon physicsy. And what I will say that I do like about this too is that, do you guys remember how Luffy beat the Nell?
and now
Are you talking about with the giant golden ball?
yeah,
Right,
the golden ball,
swinging
right?
the golden ball, gathering the storm above Skypiea.
Yeah.
And then so with the lightning, and then now we come here, and it's like kind of goofy at first, and you got him holding on to Kaido while he's sitting up in the clouds, only to find out that he's staying in the clouds, dealing with the lightning, channeling that into his hand, and then he's gonna drop a big fist on him, just like Skypiea. So
taking out another gun.
And plus, Kendall, are you still here with us, caller? Kendall, do you want to make sure you're still here with us as well?
Yes, caller is still on the line. Thank you.
Okay. What's also your thoughts on this One Piece chapter, and also of what we were discussing?
Oh, were you done, bro?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't have a lot for this chapter. I will be quite honest with you. I was a little bored with this chapter. I felt like it could have had another page or two, possibly. I like it for what it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm still in love. It's a One Piece chapter. I love One Piece, but it wasn't like it wasn't too dynamic in any kind of way. We got some more of the fight, which we expected. This is kind of how Oda does his fights, so I'm okay with it. The story's being progressed. It just was like another day in the week for me.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way too. Like, especially comparing them to the other chapters we've had with Luffy being awakened. I've busted out laughing more times reading those chapters than any other show I've watched probably this year. But yeah, I got to this chapter, I'm like, okay, this is funny, but yeah, there was some sort of like disconnect. And I think mainly with that is just, for me, it felt like a transition to this final stage of Luffy and Kaido, Which
again, this how Oda writes. It's out like I very much so respect and understand how he writes at this point, and I get that that's exactly what's happening. It's a bit of a transition. Much like I said with JJK this week, it's a turn page. They're just getting ready to flip the whole page onto the next direction of which we've been looking at, with some subtle progressions of the story. You know, we got to go back to Momo, and that's kind of been the thing, right? It's just kind of ping-ponging back between, well, Luffy is doing this, Momo's doing that, Luffy's doing this, Momo's doing that. So at some point, I've been expecting that the island was still going to get destroyed somehow. And the question was Momo actually going to be able to produce flames? Which I still don't think that's ultimately exactly what he's going to do, but I still do think it comes down to the relationship that Momo has. And my friend, my bro Damien kind of made a point about this, is like they have like Momosuke and Luffy have such an interesting friendship. And I think even on the point that Aniki is making about what this series is, it kind of ties back to that point of like, you know, like Luffy at his heart is this type of person. You know, he can connect with adults, he can connect with kids. Like he's just, again, talking to the freedom aspect, and I think that's all there really is to it. So like I said, much like some of these other chapters this week, I'm kind of just like, I'm really waiting for next week or week after next. Are we getting One Piece next week? I didn't check when I was reading.
Well, next week there is no chapters because of Golden Week, so there is no chapters for any mangakas.
Right. So we don't have nothing next week. So yeah, this is fine. I think I was a little concerned with us having like the break, come back, and then break again of how like all of these mangakas was gonna handle this. Mm-hmm. And I think all of them handled it really well. I think Oda knows what he's doing. Much like I did it, I said I wish Black Clover didn't come out this week. One Piece is gonna come out after Golden Week with a fire chapter, and it's gonna be the chapter of the week. I'm telling you guys right now.
Well, My Hero will be on break, so it's possible.
Yeah. But like, I agree with what you're saying, Kendall, because next week chapter, our boy's about to drop a whole giant dragon down to the ground of the island of Onigashima. So there has to be some type of damage to some extent, because they're already saying, I'm gonna put an end to all of this, but Onigashima's in the way, so move it. Like he's gonna punch right through the island, and like. So it's either Oda is gonna tease us and blue balls us and not have a whole giant island be crushed, or is he actually gonna drop an island like we have heard from
don't forget the flames. For the most part, to some extent, the island was on fire. It's no longer fully on fire. I only say that because I haven't seen confirmation of every single location having the fire outed. I might be miscounting places, but I don't think I saw every single place. And we know that Luffy is still Luffy, and Luffy has been hell-bent on the liberation of this island and its people. Like, he is adamant that he is going to save and free these people from the existence that they currently live in. And one thing we know about Luffy is when he gets in that headspace, he gets what he wants. So again, there's gonna be something climatic is the word that comes to mind right now. I don't know if that's the word I want to use, but like I said, the next chapter is going to be impactful, to say the least.
I think I kind of think that the next chapter will. My personal hope is Denjiro saving Komurasaki. It just seems like a fitting end to have the man who was known as the guard dog of the Shogun be the one to kill him. Especially because that was what he called himself when talking to Zoro, and it kind of gives, when you look at like what happened with Raizo, with him like taking up a bunch of the water from Zo to like, you know, with that trauma of the castle fire in mind, then it kind of makes sense that all these characters who have been waiting 20 years, like you got to think, Denjiro was kind of canonically so pissed off his face permanently changed from how mad he was.
Yep.
So it's like,
and I think that was kind of alluding to what you're saying, Denjiro being the one to finish Orochi.
So like for that, yeah. So but I do get where you're coming from, Kendall, as well, because it's just like Aniki Anthony Watkins brought up, that we still like the fight between Kaido and Luffy continues, happening. They keep going back and forth, but we also have to go back to the other Straw Hats and to the other people to know what's their location, where are they going, so the story beats could still continue to move. If we focus on Kaido and Luffy for too long, the story is not gonna move as fast as we would like.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, I feel like that's why Oda has to go back and forth with the location of each other character. Like, with Usopp, like with Oda's going.
Pause. I am tripping. I said I didn't have anything of relevance to say about this chapter, and I hit the hard pause like I just did. Gold Roger didn't have any devil fruit powers confirmed?
Oh yeah.
So that was kind of a big deal, but then I was like, okay, we finally got the answer, because like we've all been talking about this. Like it's been a thing. I won't use French, but whether or not Roger has a devil fruit or had a devil fruit that just hadn't been discussed was a major discussion for a really long time.
Yeah, like the three people that's always been in question of One Piece of who has the devil fruit: Shanks, Goldie Roger, and also Dragon. Those are three people have always been questioned in the world One Piece, who has a devil fruit and who don't. But I have always been on the side that Goldie Roger hasn't, because from when he fought Whitebeard and the way Whitebeard kind of was very friendly with him and everything, it looked like Whitebeard was the one that still had his fruit of the Quake, but our boy Goldie Roger just had a lot of strength, just pure embodiment of a lot of hockey and pure embodiment of strength. So from that fight, it just showed that he never used his devil fruit once with the Whitebeard and everything. And the way Garp as well, the way Garp.
Yeah, I was about to say Garp. We know from Garp that was a very highly likely possibility. But again, that was the first time, if I'm not mistaken, canonically, that it's been blatantly said.
I think canonically, maybe.
Yeah, because what page was that?
Page
the
9.
first it was said in canon. Yeah.
Because I don't remember any other time it would have come up.
Oh yeah, because here was it in
Kaido has been a lore dump character. Like dude's done a lot of lore dumping and exposition, and even what he says, like only hockey can transcend all.
Right. I was just about to bring it up because I was about to say, speaking of him just being a fucking narrator, basically expositionist.
That is true, because boy is really
about the hockey. He emphasized. He's clarified a lot of things
for us, the audience.
Has clarified a lot of things for us, the audience, in these past 7 to 8 pages. I mean, not 8 pages, but chapters.
But like the thing about that statement about like only hockey can transcend everything, I think that has more to do with the fact that even if you have a devil fruit, you're better having hockey. And
that shows it, because Garp has hurt Luffy back when he was just a rubber, not knowing about hockey. Garp literally just hit him without hockey, but just pure strength, and he was just saying ow, ow, ow. So it shows that Garp has gone toe-to-toe with Goldie Roger, and still with both of them without devil fruits. It shows how strong Garp is, and shows how strong Goldie Roger is. And remember from the fight between Garp and Goldie Roger at the Rock Pirates, that they both also had to fight the other Rock Pirates. It shows that now it makes us realize how powerful Goldie Roger was, to show that he had no type of devil fruit, and showed that he probably had King Hockey, Conquer Hockey, like all kinds. And maybe ones that we don't know, or probably ones that he has advanced hockey, about all the future sight. But he has had it at such a high level that he was a good opponent to find or claim the One Piece, such as.
No, never mind. I was going to say, how would y'all feel? Well, I almost started a conversation on the One Piece's alcohol theory again, but let me stop that. But
the
final goal in sake.
And
when that day comes, when that day comes, there's gonna be like 100 videos of that weekend of what is the One Piece. Oh, we're all happy about the One Piece and everything. Like that whole thing is gonna be trending. And even news articles is gonna start talking about the One Piece. I'm like, bitches, y'all don't talk about One Piece. Why y'all gonna be bringing up One Piece conversation here?
Yeah. Oh,
in the
now
newspaper?
you talk about it.
Also, can we agree that the thing that'll let us know if this punch is about to put Kaido in the dirt or not is if all of a sudden we get an actually dedicated flashback chapter, finally getting Kaido's story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if we come back to a flashback, end of fight, like definitive end of fight.
Agreed.
And also a question that I saw in the timeline, I think yesterday or 2 days ago. Do you think this is Kaido's strongest opponent that he has ever fought in his lifetime?
No,
I think Luffy has the most unique kit he's ever fought.
Yeah.
I don't, and
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, Kaido got to sit around for a bit, and yes, he's a Zoan, but he wasn't like he still fought multiple people today, like within the span of this day, people who were going for the kill. So I'm not gonna assume that like the damage that was caused by stuff like Gamma Knife or even like That Man's Farce are completely vanished. Even though I will say that Luffy fumbled, not just immediately doing like a red rock Gatling on Kaido when he got to the roof, but hey. Also, the amount of disrespect that actually puts on Big Mom, like he showed up and was like, yeah, cool, red rock on Kaido. And then they were just like, get rid of her, put her in a pet.
And there's a chat. I mean, in the chat, Alvarez brought up a good comment. Do you think this also confirms that Shanks also don't have a fruit either, of how much he's also respected by Whitebeard and other people, and how he was in the water with Luffy and got his arm cut off and everything else? Does that also claim that he doesn't have a death fruit and all he has is strong haki like Roger?
Yeah, no.
And maybe that's what inspired him to not have a fruit?
I am not for any assumption that is not explicitly said. So as far as answering the question, no, that does not confirm anything for me.
So yeah, I'm not going to say it confirms Shanks doesn't have a devil fruit, but I personally don't expect Shanks to have a devil fruit. Partially because he's been like called the man closest to Roger, partially because of how his crew is and stuff like that. But then it also like, it just seems likely, especially with the way that his crew was described too, where if you remember back when they were doing the Yonko bounties, it was like the most balanced crew, where it kind of feels like if he's got, you know, Ben Beckman and Yasop and Lucky Roo, all guys who don't seem to be devil fruit fighters, but just straight up hands and guns and stuff like that, then to me, it makes more sense for him to just straight up be also another hockey fighter.
And there's a lot of parents without, that's abandoned their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just out there. But I will also put a cherry on. I'll also put a cherry on top of that, where with Shanks, if he also has praise and also inspire as a model for Goldie Roger, that like, wait, if my captain that who was before me has become the king of the pirates, that has become this said person in Grand of all seas, but he has never had a devil fruit once, maybe he thought I should inspire that as well, that I want to claim a devil fruit as well, that he just chose to become that person. Maybe that could also be said.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like for him as a character, for Shanks, he just said, F it, I'm going to just be, this said character and just not have a devil fruit.
Yeah, I think that he ultimately decided to honor. What's up,
guys? You know what you need to not have in order to swim in water? All right, cool.
Have what? Like Kendall?
Sorry, I cut out there. I said, you know what type of powers you need to not have in order to swim in water?
Devil fruit. No, that's why, like, we know he couldn't have had a devil fruit when he saved Luffy. That's not possible.
Yeah.
But if he found one later, cool. But I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
No. I think if not anything, he was the one preparing to eat that gum no fruit.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it would beg to say that he doesn't have. Like, I think there's a lot of things. Yes, there was early on. We didn't know half the things that we knew in episode 1 that we do now. But I think there's a lot of grounds to just, if I'm going to assume anything that says that he doesn't, it's not going to be because of what was said with Roger, but more so because of just literal physical acts of things that happen literally from the initial chapters of the series.
Do you guys have any last thoughts about this chapter? If not, we can move on to our last 2 series.
No, I'm good on One Piece because, you know,
Yeah.
it was a chapter where Luffy did more fighting and we got some talks with Haki, but that's about it.
Yep.
Unless,
It was a One
like,
Piece
Homurasaki is just one of those plots that's kind of dragging its feet at this point because it's like you could have just done this in only 8 pages, but whatever. But yeah. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to address with this.
All right, so let's transition to the emotional chapter of the week because, you know, Undead, Unluck, I feel like it was an emotional ride
I'm
for...
gonna have to relive this pain again.
Hey, you know, we all have those emotional moments, and what drives us because of love and you caring for one another. So, Watkins, how did you feel about this emotional ride? Because, like you said, you didn't want to go through this again. So, how is it challenging for our boy Rip to go and save this one person just because it's what drives him to go over the edge?
Man, I don't even know where to start with all this. I mean, because there's so much in this backstory with Rip and Layla and Latla, like just from him wanting to save her from this, what was it, like a disease or whatever?
Yeah, like we don't know exactly what it was,
Yeah.
but she had some kind of illness.
But like seeing like his journey to get there, saying, you know, oh, I don't need these piano lessons or anything. You know, I know what I'm going to focus on. And then later on in life, being like, oh yeah, you know, it was actually kind of good I did those piano lessons. They actually came in handy. I don't know, man. Just this is so good. Like that. This chapter reminded me of just how good this series is, because what was it? It was the end of the shoot, who was it? Well, spring definitely got me. The end of the spring arc got me. It was, who was the name of the writer again? The
Hosoka?
Yes,
She's in the front
ending of
page.
that. Yeah. No. Is she?
Oh no, it's not her. Sorry, it's not her.
Oh yeah, no. Nah, man, I loved it. I loved it.
By the way, talking about the sickest tag team popularity poll results from Japan, aka the couples, because that's technically what it is. How do we feel about the results? How do we feel about the results of the couples?
Issues. Y'all, the community of y'all that voted have issues, and that's all I got from reading those results. Y'all have issues.
Wait. Why do they have issues?
Hold on, because I'm stuck.
Is it the Tatiana and Billy? Because that one's
Right, it's that one.
Yeah.
It's that one as being as high as it is, and even being referenced, and just like even it's fine. It's everything, honestly.
No, it's cute. It's cute. It's because she does care for Billy, but the thing is, our boy Billy don't give a fuck, and that's what's sad.
Exactly.
Like he doesn't care about her or about the topic about love. He cares about his goal and to find God and everything else. So it's like, and the top and Ishin, I'm like, where was this little seed of eggs?
If you remember, they kind of talked about it a little in the before Andy went off on his journey.
Oh,
okay. So the thing that I'll say this, like, I thought the Tatiana and Billy one was weird. Like, I get that it's tag teams and not couples, so technically you're just
it works.
About, like,
yeah, it works.
But
the tag teams aspect.
Yeah.
But we know as audience, this is couples. This ain't no time because who's number 7? It's literally his ex-girlfriend, Andy and Gina. That's his ex-girlfriend.
Right, like you open with Andy and Fuko, Shin and Mui, and like even if they don't directly say that Shin and Mui are together, come on.
They are.
Come on.
And
Read the room.
plus Juice and Victor, they were a couple for fucking three or many cycles together. They already had a relationship. Victor is in love with Juice, and Juice had a ex-partner, Victor, and now Andy and our girl Fuku, who are the main characters, and who currently in the series of 108 chapters, they love each other. So as much as that they could tell us a tag team poll, this is a couples poll. So it's cute. It's cute to see them in this slice of life aspect.
I mentioned this last week that, or maybe it was the week before, that there's a very strong theme of love and how love motivates and influences these characters. I believe it was last week. And it's so funny that that's the thing that's at the top of this chapter this week.
Like love, love, love. And the thing about Rip that I find especially tragic is that as soon as he was like, I'm gonna be a doctor, I was like, well, I know how you're about to find out you're a negator.
Yep. I was about to say everybody done had the same formula, so we knew exactly what was gonna happen. It's sad, but we knew.
Which that's not like a knock on like, oh, Tozuka, you're so predictable now. It was more like, oof, that is not a dream for a dude who is eventually going to get hit with the negation of unrepair. Like,
it's setting us up for the heartbreak.
Yo, it's like, oh, especially, and I think Tozuka, I like to believe that Tozuka knows that we are familiar with that setup.
Yeah.
So if anything, it adds an extra layer of, man, everything we see them say filled with optimism is still going to be, it's like, nope. So it creates a very big dramatic irony for the rest of those pages as you're reading up to the point of, nope, there it is. There's our death. There's them being close together now.
And there's where hope dies. Okay, great.
Also, so the thing about this is that the one thing I do want to address too, though, is that like when Rip is like, give me your points, I don't think Andy or Victor need points to get to the next arc, because I think the Earth gets destroyed and
he just
gets remade,
lives to survive.
Yeah. Because like we've seen when we saw the destruction story, it seemed like Victor was literally waking up alone on the planet and just naked, standing there like, all right, we're doing this again.
But I don't think Andy knows that. I think Victor knows that.
I think Victor and Rip are actually going to have a conversation. I think there's a chance of that, specifically because this is another one of those situations where we see Andy's card bleeding again.
Oh, you think so?
Ooh.
Yep, because I'm assuming that the bleeding card is going to have to do something. Like, obviously, it could just turn into him just going all out fighting and just beating Rip here, but I don't think that would be the goal we'd go with. So, more than likely, I think we're going to get something out of Victor, possibly, because Victor's actually been absent from the story for a while.
Yeah, insert Ninetales chakra sage mode, final boss mode, Andy. Thanks.
Because when's the last time, like genuinely, when's the last time do you remember seeing Victor?
Honestly, the last time I remember was chapter 50 or 60, around there. No, around chapter 60 is when at the book. So we haven't seen him for a good 50 chapters. So it would make sense if he comes back in chapter 109 or 110, because that's probably a good amount of 50 chapters of him coming back later.
So I'm gonna stick to Victor's the ex machina, and it's gonna just change the outcome. I would like to also add that we were completely spot on when we were talking about, the whole point system and the fact that, hey, in order to get your points, you're the person standing in my way. You have the most points, and it's exactly like we said. Juiz gave up her points to push the agenda, and that's probably not far from probably what was done in the previous cycle. I'm willing to bet, which is again why Victor, like I was saying, I think this is why Victor has been quiet, is that Victor understands like what's happening here. So until something possibly like what's currently happening has a way of like forcing Victor to be like, all right, now I really like you. Now you're not just messing with Andy at this point. You're really messing with me. on some Sukuna boys. Like, don't we was laughing together, but then you try to touch me, you try to enter my zone. So I'm thinking we gonna probably get something not like that, but of that same nature in the sense of like self-preservation is concerned.
But with the self-preservation, it depends on how Rip is gonna act in the next chapter and how Andy is gonna take in all this into consideration. Because right now, Rip is going all with emotions and aggression towards Andy, but right now he's also analyzing the whole situation. So Victor may pop up next chapter and be like, "Hey, so this is true what's going on." But one thing I like is confirmation that Arc has been always a round table. So it makes sense why in those flashbacks we have always seen Victor and Juiz with the round table, and now that makes total sense why that round table has always been there, because it's the arc itself.
It has to all come full circle.
And the last time we see Victor, I believe it's in the 40s, because I'm looking at the fight now, and it was between Victor and Andy, and I'm pretty sure this is the last time to have that conversation.
Damn, it's been more than that? Wow, it's been in the 40s.
No,
Wow.
he literally just shows up. Like we get Victor, and then we don't have Victor. We never see him again.
Damn, boy has been chilling inside, probably taking a whole type of Ninetales nap right now. But with that being said, do you guys believe that Rip is gonna get these points? Rip is gonna come out of this, or do you think there will be more to it?
I think there kind of has to be more to it. Just because Rip versus Andy, I don't know if Tozuka, with what Tozuka has set up with Rip specifically, I'll say, is that it's very clear that Rip is intended to be a main character that's going to be around for a while. So I don't expect this to be the end of the road for Rip, especially with everything going on. What I'm kind of expecting now is for Rip and Fuko to ride Arc into the future, or through the loop, and then Andy to basically stay on Earth get destroyed, Andy regenerate, and then make it into the next loop. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but no guarantee, obviously.
Of course. But his flashback was needed. It makes sense, and I'm glad that we got it first, and to explain Rip resolution and results of why he did the betrayal, of why he's acting out for what he's doing now. And it just shows that Rip is more of a layered character since we met him back, I think, in chapter 20 or so, or in the beginning. And it shows that Rip has been a person that has always sought out to set his goals and accomplish what he's been to do, and he's always been on his own, because at the end of the day, he's cared for his loved one. And I love in old storytelling, like in Shonen and everything, love is a powerful thing, no matter how you see it, but love is what drives you. And this is what has been driving Rip himself, for the love of his lost one, and he wants to fix her in the next loop, and that's what is actually just pushing him to be there in the next loop.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, guys, before we go to the binge that our boy Watkins did for us?
No, we can get into Ayashimon, I believe.
It
was a pretty nutty chapter.
Yep, thank you for that, because Sam kept saying these nuts. And I'm like, boy, okay. It seems like he's like, yo, that's all it's about, is these nuts. I'm like, okay, Sam, I get it. He's like, hey, I have one topic, that's what I'm gonna do, roast him. I'm like, all right. It seems like he's doing good. Kendall, before we switch, do you have any last thoughts on Undead Unluck, or you want to switch to Ayashimon as well?
Nah, Aniki already hit us with a smooth transition, bro.
All right. I just want to confirm, because you are our caller, so I can't really see reaction wise. So, all right then. Watkins, if you can be the first one on this topic, since you just did the binge of 21 chapters, how was these nuts? These nuts.
Oh, these nuts were hot. Let me tell you. These nuts didn't drag at all. It was nice, quick, nutty action. Very smooth too. And I like some of the sketchiness of the nuts. It's been great. The power of the nuts has been pretty good as well. I really like the main character. I immediately grabbed onto him, and just the way he is, he reminds me of like an otaku child Zaraki.
That's a nice comparison because I felt the hypeness from the first chapter, the way he inspired to be like the MC, and because it's made on Shonen, so you could bring up Goku, you could bring up the other characters. So I'm like, also this man dead ass got them hands, and I was like, also this is how he's gonna fight the other Ayashimon creatures, the other monsters. And I'm like, I can't wait to see how the story kind of develops. And it just really develops very well. Slow pace, but then it shows the action of these hands. So I just love that aspect for it, Watkins.
Oh yeah, and this binge was very easy. It's been on my to read list for a while now. So it's not like I didn't want to read it. But yeah, I mean, just everything I read had, even this week's chapter has just been nuts.
And for yourself, Aniki and Kendall, what's your thoughts of this chapter 21? That they finally came to the realization and found some dude that owns a whole type of tower of nuts. Balls out in the air.
Like,
Balls out in the open.
I'm gonna be real with you. Yuji Kaku did some pretty interesting things involving anatomy and stuff in Jiko Karaku. And this isn't even the first time giant nuts have been in Jump.
That's not?
We talked about One Piece, right?
Yeah.
So if you go back during Wano, back when Luffy meets what's her name? Tama, they have a tea kettle.
Yes.
And the tea kettle is just like sitting on something, and that like it's like a giant circle. But that giant circle that the tea kettle is sitting on is the tea kettle's nuts. That was a Tanuki tea kettle.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. Interesting.
But Kaku a different breed for going with the man drew pubes.
He did.
Like,
I don't know why he chose to draw the hair too. And I'm like when I saw that, and then Sam sent it to me, and I was like, he dead ass drew the hairs of the pubes. Like, we know as humans we get hairs in certain parts of our body. Some humans don't. But he did. I said, you know what? I'm gonna make this very detailed for people to know these big ass balls, and I'm gonna draw the pubes too. I'm like, but you didn't have to do that though. And like, it's crazy. Out of this whole chapter, like that's what stood out to me: is the balls, the hairy, the details.
I disagree. So, nuts aside, I think the age of the Tanuki is part of the reason why there was an emphasis on putting that level of detail. And the fact that the building had been sitting there in place for all of these generations. So I think that there was reason for it. And yeah, I thought it seemed weird that we was doing training with chestnuts, but there was a long gag at play. And,
Yeah.
you know.
It's a weird choice of the training with him and what it comes with, but hopefully it comes full circle and hopefully it gets, this training does pay off for that.
Like, all up, man.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know what to say with this, balls.
Because my thing is that we get to see the reveal of Maruo or whatever using some kind of new technique and tapping into the power system a bit more. But so what I'm kind of hoping is that this is a symptom of Ayashimon having at least 4 volumes planned. Because we kind of talked about how if we go with like 9 chapters in each volume, then we could hit 27 chapters. And if they wanted to go do that conflict, they could wrap up with, taking out the Unma Syndicate in 1 volume's time if they really wanted to, as long as they just made it come down to like a 1v1 duel and Maruo having adapted and utilized his powers. But in this case, we're having a fight that looks like it's going to take at least 2 to 3 chapters, which means we can't be done by like that 27 mark unless we just like really ratchet it up and give Maruo like a bunch of abilities, or we just cut it off there. So it's looking like, I will say that while this chapter feels a bit weird and like it kind of spun its wheels, I think to a certain degree that this chapter was also a really good setup for kind of establishing this series isn't going to get canceled, especially since it did get volume 1 reprinted. So I'm hoping we at least can get into the 40s and kind of see what this is really supposed to turn into.
Right.
Because right now I'm just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're still teetering on like whatever that decision may be, but I think we're in a good headspace now of clarity of like, okay, well, I'm at least gonna make sure I have a good point to finish on or turn into the next series here. So I think I think we're seeing signs that maybe they've gotten some confirmation of a little bit more stability, or at least a definite direction on something. But it was getting into like the chapter itself. I love that with the series doesn't forget itself. You know, we don't forget that what's her name is a recluse. Like she's been exiled from this life. She doesn't really know much. Like, yeah, she presents this energy and what's not, but she's not been in this realm. I think also interesting is seeing the human exorcist and having that factor come in, because that's something that we hadn't seen yet, that I was wondering when that would kind of tie in. I thought maybe it would be possibly in another like arc, but it's good to see that we're getting a little bit of everything right now. And yeah, those 2 other things kind of stood out to me a lot for this chapter, you know, besides the twin nuts.
Nuts didn't make it for you?
No. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I'm good on nuts.
I mean, there's some tough nuts, but
I mean, there's some old nuts.
yeah.
Like
seasoned, I guess.
Genuinely though, did Vash
What?
get kicked?
No, I'm right here.
No.
Oh, okay. No, because I like looked on the screen and like you're gone from the YouTube.
Oh, it's because my girl came here, so I had to hide because my girl's not dressed very well, so that's why I gone myself.
Yeah. That's why I have to have the setup I have, because somebody is clothing phobic.
I understand you. That's why
Yep,
I have
I
to
get
finish
you.
my design in my room. I have to change the angle of camera. I plan to do that today to have it ready for next week, so it's much easier instead of turning my camera off all the time. But like, oh, hold up.
All right, Abe, clip all of this, please. For the sakes of their partners, please clip all of that.
Anyway, back to the chapter. I was not here, so I don't know what you guys said, but I don't know if you guys were giving last thoughts, but I do want to say my last thoughts of this chapter is I prefer this chapter over last week. A lot of the lore and a lot of the exposition they gave compared to this as a balance of lore, exposition, but also comedy, but also training. Like I felt like it moved a lot more of the balance of the story, and it moved more of the needle itself. So I prefer this chapter compared to last week. We get a mix of both.
And I think that next week we need to, I don't want to say we need to, but we probably should just kind of lean into like the serious. I think we need to not do goofy for a couple chapters, mostly for the sake of the story's weight and like having that establishment and showing the fandom and like showing readers the story has range to it and doesn't have to always be this multi like like it can actually carry a moment and a tone and let that go through, because I think we've gotten enough goofy stuff that it's like, yeah, we're having fun, but like also show us like when the gang stuff is going down that it's not gonna always have to be ridiculous, and kind of, you know, just give us because like today's chapter was so ridiculous that what happens next week, I almost need to be completely serious. Like this chapter was nuts. Like that's all I can really say about that particular aspect of it. Is like,
It was
all right, cool. You stuck to your guns. The mythology within the culture, I respect that. I appreciate that. But that is just a little too nutty. That's, I don't know. Like I'm trying. Like I don't want to make nut puns, but that's like the only way to describe the situation. But yeah, I'm hoping that we get whatever move we get out of Maru, whatever techniques we're getting. I'm hoping that they're not like crazy big, because I do want this to have competent and pacing. Yeah, like not.
Yeah,
I agree. Like, I don't want him to be broken when we only have 21 chapters. I want him to improve in the skill, improve as a fighter, and learn how to use more than just brute hands, but learn some different type of attributes that he could do. Now I'm curious to see how it's gonna look and how's he gonna be as a new fighter now when he meets other people in the future. That's what I want to see, is that with this new set of skills, would it be easier for him to fight other opponents, or would it be more challenging for him and learn throughout the fights of how he does with the skill? That's what I'm curious to see.
Yeah, something a little more than just, Plan A, punch. Plan B, punch harder.
And that's what I'm hoping that we're gonna do with this next transition of the next couple of chapters. And like Aniki says, that if this here don't get axed by chapter 27, hopefully it continues with more of the lore and exposition in this type of route with comedy, not just like last chapter, just full exposition. Where the team, I can agree to it, where the team said it felt like a Hunter x Hunter type of chapter. So I'm hoping for more of this type of chapter in the future when we get more of the lore exposition, but a bit of comedy throughout, spread in it with a bit of sprinkle. Any last thoughts? Because it seems like we're good to wrap it up.
No, I think Ayashimon didn't leave us with a lot to say.
No.
It was very crunchy. It was very crunchy for us to digest. Some people can't. Nah, I'm good. I'm not going to continue that joke.
I have nothing else to say about this.
All right. So with all the nuts out of the way, what's everyone's favorite chapter of the week? So Watkins, this is your favorite chapter, including today's issue. If you want to also, if you do read Jungle Book Super, if you also do read Boruto, the Naruto Next Generation from this past Wednesday, it dropped. If you want to bring that in too, because it did drop within the week. But your chapter of the week, go discuss. What was it? Was it Mission Jujutsu Kaisen Family, Earthchild, any other series that we don't discuss today?
Oh gosh, chapter of the week. I might have to give it to Black Clover, because I really liked it, because again, like, it gave me that spark again with the series that I kind of needed, and I always try to look for that whenever I'm getting into a series. Like, okay, what's the spark that keeps you here? And Black Clover had a few times where like it was there, but this chapter I think gave me that spark. Like, okay, I like you, you're great, I'm gonna keep reading you or watching you or whatever. Yeah, I might have to give it to them, because like a lot of the good that MHA did, it was good, and that's just like a consistent good. So I don't feel like I need to really keep praising it for being as consistent as it is. Undead Unluck had probably the biggest emotional moment of the week, but I think I just liked the Black Clover hype a little more than anything else I read this week.
Okay. Hey,
Quick
caller.
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you feel like that might have been partially because of feeling disappointment in a lot of previous Black Clover chapters?
Oh, definitely.
Probably, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because trust me, there was a lot.
I recognize that walk. It's
Trust me, I understand you because myself and Aniki and plus Kendall have been saying this for Black Clover. What month are we on? April. So 4 months of how this new year of how Black Clover literally felt like it's been the same since the first chapter in January. So it felt like, where are you going with this? Like you still feel the same, but I'm glad we finally got something, and I hope the best of luck to Black Clover, the audience. Like just because your series is on break, not the end of the world.
No,
There's other
'cause-
magazines. There's other series of Japan
don't
that
worry.
has other publications.
They will make sure that we know that they are still present,
Oh yeah.
as only the Clovers can do.
Clover Hive is Clover Hive is weird, man. Like
Yeah.
they're powerful. They seem large. They seem everywhere, and everywhere but Japan.
LOL.
That's a fact in a sad way.
Like based off because Black Clover does fine sales wise as far as like any regular series author, but genuinely Black Clover's sales are baffling for how much was put into it and stuff. So
True, that's very true. Like compared to the hype, compared to what things are, it should be higher. But that's a whole different conversation. Kendall, caller, what is your chapter of the week? What is your favorite that moved you, your emotion, or just entertainment?
So biasly, very absolute biasly, Haikyuu dropped a one-shot
Yep.
additional,
You don't know, like I had a feeling you was gonna say IQ.
and that's all that really mattered this week.
I knew it.
No, but seriously, on a serious note, is I said it in our chat. Is my hero. I again, any other week it could have been Black Clover, but not this week. I would say it's definitively my hero. I would maybe have some argument between like right after being maybe JJK or being Black Clover, and I would maybe want to give it to Black Clover barely. But yeah, no, it's absolutely My Hero Academia. And I think for everything that Black Clover tried to sell me on, this was a better payoff for me. And it may just be, like Aniki and I keep going back and forth saying it, is that I think I've already felt that this was coming, more so than I knew that this was about to happen with Dabi and Shoto. Like I knew that this was I knew we was gonna go back. We was gonna have to. I said this. I'm pretty sure we could probably go back and clip it. That I basically gave the guide of how this is gonna play out, no matter what direction they decide to go in. I knew that all of these things were things that were gonna come up and have to be addressed in a chapter or two towards the end. I think I literally explicitly explained almost everything that we saw, and I'm okay with it. It was good. It was solid. I appreciate it. But this was a really good week for Jump. This was great to get before Golden Week.
Agreed.
I'm very grateful for this. Again, I don't think people understand, especially when you come back and read these things in hindsight. You really don't understand that level of effort that these mangakas go into, putting so much consideration into themselves, into us as the audience, into the artwork that they are working on, their children, their babies, and then putting that out there, because there's still a story and a goal that has to be met at the end of the day. This is still people's jobs, So, also, definitely special shout out, like I said, to One Piece and Undead Unluck. Not necessarily like super wow chapters, but continuing to follow the motto and trend that they've kind of established for us. I'm definitely happy I was really happy to get Rip back, and I'm also even more happy this week to see that expounded on and get some more backstory on Rip. The fog around Rip has kind of been cleared up. And yeah, that's my chapter of the week. That's my final thoughts for the entire episode. And I appreciate y'all. Thanks for letting me call in.
Of course, caller. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And to our consistent guest. That what's your thoughts?
So, my favorite chapter of the week is obviously going to be MHA. Just from
surprising.
Like the art was good, the fight was good. It was nice to finally be getting into the meat of the conflict, but also like I did really enjoy what JJK gave us this week, what One Piece gave us. I actually like the direction Black Clover is going. I think this was just in general a good week for Jump. So hey, I'm not complaining about anything we got this week. Yozakura was great. I know that surprised people last week when that was my dark horse pick for the favorite, which was good this week too. Looks like it's setting up something crazy. So that's all, But yeah, I think that this Golden Week break is like, they always take it, but I think in general, everybody in the magazine should probably get a break, especially people like, the authors of Mashal and Tozuka who aren't necessarily getting breaks like that yet. And even if Ayashimon seems to have some issues or like some of these newer series, these authors all deserve that little bit of time off and a little bit of holiday enjoyment. So.
And for that being said, my thoughts of this week's chapter, I have to give it to, like Wankan said, I have to give it a bit like Black Clover. Not being biased, but like I'm satisfied with context and what it could do and what it could accomplish for Black Clover in the future. So it's more, I have expectations for it, but at the same time, I don't want to hype myself like other people, people on the timeline coming peak of fiction like Isaac level, but it ain't. But Black Clover, I really enjoyed it. By context and everything, My Hero Academia as well. But my favorite chapter week is definitely Mission Yozakura Family. For those that do read it, you have known by the context that this arc is where it's heading, and then by the last page of said chapter to see where we left off of who came through. So definitely, I have to give it to Mission Yozakura Family because for those that read it, is a interesting direction of where they've been going, and we're finally getting more closer to maybe the end of the series, or maybe more type of potential story that we could go to, or what could have been the grander story of things that we don't know about said character that came there. I'm trying to be very vague in case.
But I know exactly what you mean. Because like this could be this is transitioning towards the end of the story arc, or this could be like, this is the end of the beginning, and it could go either way with what we've been presented in Yozakura.
Exactly. So it's very curious to see which type of direction the manga is gonna go, because this story from the beginning, I never thought it would be like a long series, like 300, 400 chapters, but I do see it being like 200, 215, 250. So like Aniki said, this could be the beginning of the end, or we could be close to wrapping up. So it could be going left or right, and I really don't mind if it goes on the left, where we get a bit more of said grander story, where there is more players in the chessboard. So there's more questions for that whenever it comes to. So if you ever want to talk about Mission Yozakura Family, always hit me up on the DM or on Twitter, because I love to discuss Mission Yozakura Family. So I hope one day we do discuss it here on Shonen Ronin, but I know with me and Aniki, we will have a good discussion one day if we ever have the chance for it. But
yeah, I've been actually thinking about going back and doing a nice little reread of Yozakura. I just have a lot of reading on my plate.
Trust me, I get you on that.
I'm about 110 chapters behind. So.
Oh, woo! You have another good binge, and trust me, you're gonna enjoy that binge. Like I tell the people, like Sam said in the chat before. Even though I do say chapter 40 gets better, chapters 1 through 40 are still good, but feels more of that slice of life type of story in Shonen Jump. But once you pass chapter 40, it reminds you that it's still a battle shonen within a slice of life type of family type of dynamic, just like Sakamoto days. So I always try to compare that. Like, if you enjoy Spy Family, Mission Yozakura Family will give you twice of that. Is what I try to always tell the audience.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, like, I think within the first 40, you actually do get some good action and stuff. And like, I don't want to like argue like against what Vash is saying necessarily, but I do think you get some. I think what it is that chapter 40 specifically, I think, is where that really good mission and story arc is, where like it gets really, you're like really seeing the family go all out and do stuff. So.
And plus the cast is not huge.
I really like the family.
Yeah.
Like, I really like their dynamic and the characters. Like I I really genuinely like them. I just been very slow reading it.
Trust me, you're not the only one. I plan to catch up to the 6Ps, to the other series that are there in Shonen Jump within this break of Golden Week. I haven't yet discussed with the team if we are gonna do a show next week for Shonen Ronin, and if we are, we're gonna do a short show to put a spotlight a set series that we want to bring up. So I haven't yet discussed or asked guests, but there's a whole different conversation for behind the scenes. But other than that, we appreciate everyone that joined the show. Ray, Aniki, we also appreciate you being here. Watkins, and thank you for the caller, Kendall, as well. We appreciate you calling. Thank you very much. And for all the links are down below for everyone to find us. Watkins, I'm going to put your links all down below for YouTube channel and everyone else. We appreciate for everyone tuning in, liking, subscribing. Check all these content creators' videos and where to find them as well, because they stream beautiful content like the Church MHA. Watkins does Eden Zero, and Kendall, he's here and do the Conquer Movement, and Ray Apollo, he's daddy, and he does a lot of stuff. He works for Twitch. But other than that, we appreciate for everyone being here. We see you guys on the next one.